How you doing? My name is George, and you're watching episode number 28 of the Northeast RC Racer podcast. I am here with my co-host, Toby Hampson,
What's up?
Vim Manchanda,
How's it going, guys?
and Tom Petrella.
What up, Jorge?
Same shite, different day, Tommy. Same shite, different day. Happy A-Scale Racing has started in the Northeast, in our area for sure. We're going to cover that soon. Toby's got a little recap of what's going on, but just want to welcome everybody back to the podcast. I am super excited for this episode. We have we have Scotty Ernst coming on the show tonight. And as far as I'm concerned, thus far in 28 episodes, all the people we've had have been great, to say the least. We had Lefty on, I think, episode number 10, and a little bit of royalty, right? But Scotty Ernst, as far as I'm concerned, is basically like one of the best guys in RC, not just in announcing, but personality. Got to know him pretty well over the last decade going to Motorama, and it's a real pleasure to have him on the show. And he wouldn't be here without Toby and his friendship with him as well. So super excited, and we're really happy to be able to bring him to the show for all you guys that are watching. So I'm super stoked. How do you guys feel about that?
Super jazzed, for sure.
Wait. Yeah, been looking forward to this episode. So I feel the same way. I think he's a great guy, great personality. It's just amazing how he just remembers everybody. He's got such a memory, man, and great character, and a good role model for our youth to see, how we should treat others. And I could go on and on. Great guy.
I mean, talk about a good conduit, right? Because you could not even be in the RC. We probably should wait till Scotty's on, right? But you can almost not even be in the RC and find this on YouTube and listen to him doing the announcing. You get it, right? He just gets it exciting and makes it sound really good. So
good about that. Vin, it's so funny. Your comment about Scotty is like my question number one. About the memory, it's awesome. It's one thing that stood out about the guy when I first met him. It was like, I think the second year he was announcing, we got there, and I went to, I don't know, I think I was marshaling, and he wanted somebody to move, and he's like, George, go over there, or something like that. And I'm like, how the hell did he remember my name out of a list of guys? But then I just realized he's got that kind of memory, which is crazy and awesome at the same time.
And I feel bad because I'm the guy that someone walks up to me and introduces themselves, and 2 seconds later, like, what the hell was their name again?
Yeah, I'm right there with you.
Every time.
Oh, misery loves company.
It's association, right? You're like, if the person's name is X, right? And you're trying to think of somebody else that you know or looks like them, or a place just to lock in some association. It's the only way I can do it. Moving right along, because we don't want to keep our special guests waiting too long. We are going to throw some mentions for our sponsors, because without those guys, we can't make this happen. So I'm going to kick it over to Toby, and let's get some sponsors rolling.
Absolutely. So if I can bring up this screen, because I'm totally prepared as usual. There it is. So our first sponsor, Ed Bridges from EB Mods. He has been, this is his second year sponsoring the broadcast, actually. Ed from EB Mods has been around many years now. And he's one of the go-to guys in our region for all your engine services. Sleeve pinching, braking, dyno tuning, that kind of thing. Check out ebmods.com. I actually was chatting to him this week. He has a pretty unique product he brought out, I think, last year. Resizing tool, actually, and I just got one. I got the Eco product, which is one of his more specialized products. You can choose. If you want to sort of specialize in a certain engine. So 60.4 is what I've got, which is like for all the common OS brands, 83 and, all that kind of related family. So I'm going to start doing pinches, at least for myself, try to learn it. Kind of a little side thing, but I just want to learn about. But anyway, EB Mods is your man, and check him out. He also has a store. You can buy, where am I going here? He actually sells engines. He actually sells his own engine, which is a it's a Nova variant, but it does its own porting mods and things. So you guys should check that out. Just launched that pretty recently. And then if I go back over, I want to do a quick video. So our other new sponsor this year is Nitro Caddy. So I'm going to run a quick video for you. All right, check it out, nitrocaddy.com. Dennis Brew is your man. He's making these awesome caddies, very popular in the region. He just sponsored Full Pro last December, and he's been getting involved in other events, Motorama. So check it out.
You'll see him on the track. He's usually got a cigarette in his mouth and a golf cart with usually a big neon sign on the front of it as he's riding around.
There's no mistake in it. And he runs like 18 classes as well, and always does well. Always does well and always bumps up.
And if you don't find him there, you can always see him doing the, I guess, the prelim show for LCRC. He's got his own little podcast that he's doing with Rob Shimoji. So Dennis is a good guy and definitely contributing to the hobby since he joined. And he's only been a hobbyist for a couple of years. So we appreciate that, Dennis. We're going to get into covering.
Oh, sorry, George. I just wanted to shout out to Dennis for the sign, the neon sign. He made these, so I thought it was pretty cool. Anyway,
yeah, another little side gig. He does customized neon signs. So if you guys want to get a cool sign, techno, Mugen, whatever, reach out to him as well. So it's super cool.
I want to get him to make one that says bump pass.
The TLR ones are going cheap right now if you need one.
On sale.
You
guys know Jay Miller?
Yeah, of course.
I hear bump pass. I just hear him yelling, saying, "Bump pass!"
Dude's out there.
I think that's Jay.
He used to scream that all the time.
Oh, he was awesome. I remember South Jersey RC. He would always pit right in front of me. He had a little crock pot with wings or meatballs in it all the time. And he would be out there commenting louder than Linda was on the microphone. It was hilarious.
He still races though, right?
We saw him.
I haven't seen him in a while.
I saw him at Motorama. Alan and I ran into him, and he's racing oval. So
okay.
He's pitching on Alan and I on oval, and we're like, come back to the dark side. He's like, no, you guys got to check out oval.
No.
I check out oval just to hang out with Jay Miller again because he was hilarious. I missed the guy. He was a good guy at the track, always laughing.
Always a good time with Jake, for sure.
Like Dennis Brew. I never see Dennis Brew. Even when he has a bad race, he's never upset.
No.
He's just always happy.
Happy-go-lucky.
Like Toby. Always smiling.
That's me. From
away. We're keeping this show moving because we got the guests waiting in the wings. So we're going to actually step back to Toby. He's going to do a little race recap of some of the races that opened up in the Northeast. So listen, because he may call your name in top 5.
Yeah, maybe.
I didn't say guaranteed.
Yeah. Little to no preparation. Last weekend was the season opener at Trains and Lanes, which was hampered by rain. So the entry count was about 70. And it rained sort of on and off all day, bit of a heavy downpour, sort of around lunchtime. So the track was a little slick, and some of the cars were coming up pretty nasty looking. But I'll cover some of the results here. Brian Coos, Tim Powers, Jack Mulligan. Jack just got a nice new Toyota Tacoma, which I'm very excited about for Jack. That's top 3 Nitro buggy. Electric was really all about Colin Morse and Aiden. There was Ophir would have been in that mix, but he went home with Benny. Yeah, Benny and Ophir would have been right there too in that top group. Nitro Buggy, Carlos Cruz, Chase, and Colin Rice. That's your top 3 Nitro Buggy. Electric Truggy was also an Aiden Manchada win. And luckily for him, Benny wasn't there again, so it could have been a pretty good battle. So that's really what happened. And I don't think we have much else going on 8 skill wise, right? Last weekend, that was really the because it was a moist weekend. I don't get to say moist very often. People
We
get
had a
offended.
kickoff at Rhythm.
Yeah, and then you had what do you have, practice day, Tom?
Yeah, we did like a test and tune, but we had a
Yeah.
ton of guys come out just to make sure everything worked the way we hoped it would, and no surprises on the opener. Seemed to work out pretty good. George, what do you think of the layout? Did you have fun?
It was awesome. Layout's more complicated, but still raceable, fast. Nice little chicane section in the middle. Rhythm section was good. It's going to be fun. Racing's always been good down there. You know, the one thing about your track, for those people who are listening, you know, there's great racers throughout the Northeast, but like South Jersey has this little pocket of fast guys, right? They're like hidden in a little corner because they were basically all grown family hobbies. And then once family hobbies kind of dissipated with the owner, you know, passed on, those guys really don't spread their wings to go race in too many places. Maybe a few of them do. But those guys are a fast group of guys, even coming out of retirement. And, you know, some guys that hadn't been racing for a while and now their pace is right back up and, you know battles. But if you want to, you know, race with some different groups of racers, right? Because you can go to tracks and sometimes you're limited by the groups that associate there, right? So you go to another place and, of course, different mix, you know, kind of like fish in a barrel kind of thing, right? Little fish, big fish, not shooting them. But anyway, Rhythm's got some talent down there. So if you get a chance, go down there, mix it up with some different guys and see some real fast guys down there.
Just to quickly touch on Psycho Nitro Blast, which was just last weekend with a ridiculous 964 entries. Just want to mention a couple of local guys who did well. Colton Fenari won Intermediate Electro Buggy. I know he was pretty jazzed about that. Thomas Kaufman third. So, some pretty big finishes. Maddie Long, who was on here last week, she made the A, finished around 14th of a 18 car race. So that's pretty nuts. And then Sportsman Nitro Truggy. Was it Sportsman Nitro Truggy? I just saw his name. Oh, no, sorry, I'm on the buggy version. Dennis Brew, the infamous Dennis Brew. I think he bumped out of the B, and he was in the 30-minute Sportsman Nitro A main. Ended up finishing 8th, which is pretty good considering he started 17th.
Wow, so, I didn't even know that.
Yeah.
Great job, Dennis.
Yep, he's out there with those techno rides, looking real good. So just to touch on a couple other drivers. Pete Webb was down there, and I think Nick go down there? I don't know.
Yeah, I saw Camasco on the list somewhere. I don't know. I didn't watch his races. I know he was down there though.
Yeah, so
Pete Morgan was down there.
Yeah, Pete. Sorry, and a few of the LCRC Chinatown regulars. So, yep, good stuff.
Let's not forget Schreff. Schreff won 40 plus.
Oh, yep.
E-buggy.
That's right.
He finished second or third. I mean, him and Chicky, another battle. I think Drake ended up winning the Nitro buggy one, but Chicky and Schreff are going back and forth.
Yeah, he came third. Yeah. Started third, finished third. So that's a pretty damn good result. 40 plus is always pretty stacked. I'm going to push for 50 plus in the region now, since some people coming into 40 plus that I'd really rather not race with. We got to step it up. 50 plus. I know Mike Ream's ready for that. He's a year out, 60 plus, but anyway.
I didn't say it, Mike. You listen to this. It's Toby.
He's good, Mikey. I wouldn't have thought a year out of 60 for Mike. Looks good.
Yeah, he's a handsome, young-looking child.
Did you guys see that pic of him Lance McDonald took with him sleeping?
No, really?
It was hysterical.
I got a
Mike
picture
sleeping and Lance McDonald standing right behind him as Mike's in a chair.
I think it was his birthday when he was down there, so he was busting his stones.
I got a picture of him sleeping. I kept posting it on Facebook. He got all upset, but it was pretty funny. He just did the same thing. He just falls asleep at his pit, just like that. Just goes out. It's really
That's what
great.
it looked like.
It's fucking great.
Wish I could take a quick nap like that.
Yeah, no, me too. I'm too wound up. So
Toby, two things. Vin, what's your comment on the wall at PMB?
Oh man, there was a couple cars stuck that went over, got stuck. Yeah, I mean, I wish we were there to run it ourselves, but hopefully next year we'll be there to check it out in person, and hopefully they bring the wall back, or maybe not. I don't know. I don't know what the take is. I'd like to actually. We should bring Colton Fernari back to answer that question since he won intermediate. I think that's really cool. That's great.
That is cool. When I first saw the images of the wall,
I'd love to race on that. I just not going to marshal near that wall. I can promise you that.
Yeah, that's right.
they had the tires obviously going up, right, as the line separator. But like the first time I saw the wall, I think there was like 4 tires missing, like right at the top, in order for them to make the turn. I'm like, oh, that doesn't look good. And I'm like, yeah, maybe it's just my perspective. And then I see it like, I don't know, 6 hours later when I got back to it, and you see like 1.5 foot of tires that come down.
Yeah, I think it was a little too high for, most drivers. I mean, you got to build a track, right, that's easy for everybody. I think they needed it's easy to sit here and judge, right? But I think a pipe up the end would have been good. So if those guys got a little heavy on the throttle, they could bounce off, slide down. Someone could pick them back up. And then, I think the tires could have been, a little lower. So you could, a lot of cars were going up and then just rolling backwards and falling down. So, but whatever.
Yeah, you could see gravity actually take effect as the cars were going up. And they didn't
a lot of cars, when they went around and when they turned, they would sort of pitch and go. And a lot of ones were just pitching too much. So it's cool.
Yep, cool stuff. All right, what else we got going on here? We want to say a big shout out and thank you to episode number 27's guests, right? We had Mad Maddie, Long On, and Rusty. So thank you guys for coming on the show. We learned a lot about both of you, and love Maddie's attitude for sure. And I'm sure Rusty's going to have his hands full, to say the least, as she hits her teenage years. But in the meantime, we look forward to seeing you racing and to follow your performance and stats as time continues. So we're going to have a lot of good guests like that for the balance of the season. In the meantime, we are going to bring our guest on that works for Toby.
Yeah, man. We're actually about 3 minutes ahead of schedule. So he's ready.
Somebody buy a lottery ticket.
Tom can fill up to 3 minutes. Hey, Scotty.
Hey, what's up, everybody?
How's it going?
I'm doing well, thank you.
Like I was saying before, Scott, I think I know you at least 10 years, possibly, once a year at Harrisburg.
Once a year at Harrisburg, but it's probably even more than that, I think.
10 years at a minimum. I just can't remember.
At least, for sure.
You are just an awesome guy. I know you don't drink, but if just hanging out with you when you're done announcing or up at the driver's stand, one thing about you always make everybody feel so comfortable around you. I think that's one of the secrets that you have. You're there for business, but you give every racer that comes to the event like this, you look at them in the eye, you give them their moment that they need, whether it's to fix their name, their transponder, or for them to just tell you something exciting at the event. So I'm always so gracious when you're at the event. So thank you so much.
Well, thank you. I appreciate the kind words. I'm blessed I get to do what I do. I do enjoy it. And, I've been blessed to make a lot of friends from around the world everywhere I go. And even though I might see it, maybe once a year, it's still cool to see everybody that share the same passion that we have for the hobby.
No doubt about that. No doubt. One of the things that Vinny kind of mentioned it before, I don't know if you heard it in the waiting room, but one of the things I always felt that I was always astounded about when I met you probably the first 2 years is that you have a memory that's like second to none. I don't know if it falls on other categories, right? Geology or geography, but you seem to be able to, once you meet somebody, you seem to be able to lock their name in. And I know it's not just mine. I see you do it plenty of other racers at the race event, maybe guys that haven't been going there so long. What's your secret about that?
Whew. You know, I get asked that a lot because it's just something that I've grown with, I guess. But I don't know. I think it's because I don't know. I associate your face with your car, with your paint job, with your name, and I think that is what really helps me. Although I can't lie, with the COVID, when the world shut down, it definitely, I lost a step in that realm of life because I stopped doing it for whatever it was, a year and a half, 2 years of doing something that you're normally doing. That part of my brain, whatever's left of it, doesn't work, and yeah, I've lost a little bit. I can't be too proud to say that sometimes I'm like, Jimmy, no, you know, but hey, that comes with age, right?
Right.
Absolutely. Well, I'm happy the four of us.
Tell me you're human and still forget to bring home milk.
What's that, Vinny?
I was going to say, tell me you're human and still forget to bring home milk now and again.
Oh yeah, yes, absolutely, for sure, yes, that does happen.
I'm just glad you always remember the four of our names. So yeah, that's half the battle right there.
We get a good group that we get to race with in Motorama. You know, I think back to the time when they brought me in to do that, and it was a big change for a lot of people the way we did things. But I think in the end, it kind of built up to what everybody expects, and everybody has a good time when they race with us.
For sure.
So since we talk, mainly about the East Coast racing on this podcast, Motorama is such a big integral part of our exposure to you.
Yeah.
Do you mind telling us a little bit about how and when you got into Motorama and why?
Sure. No, it's one of the majors in my calendar every year. You know, in the early years of Motorama, you know, I heard about the race. I never got to go there as a racer. I was not really racing 8 scale or nitro back in the day. I was still a 10 scale racer from the shop our family owned in Milwaukee trackside. And the guy Binky was doing it, and you know, he was running this show, and then I think they were looking for a change to Motorama people, and my name got tossed around. I don't really remember how my name got thrown into the mix, and they asked me to come down and do it, and it was a struggle for the first couple of years because we couldn't bring dirt in, or we could bring dirt in, but we couldn't touch the dirt that was in the arena. We had to bring dirt in, and we got, like, I remember 2 or 3 truckloads was it. So we could build some small little jumps, and I wasn't a track builder, so you know. And then after, I think we had 2 years of nitro, and that second year, it just the arena filled up so much that the fire marshal came in, and they
2011.
Is that what it was?
Yeah, that was my first time there. It was pretty savage.
Oh, it was terrible. And
yeah,
you know, I remember the producer Andy and Brad, they came in with the fire marshal, and they said this just can't happen. And we had to open them garage doors at the end. We had fans on them, and that doesn't work enough. And they just said, that's it, no more nitro. And I remember, you guys remember, I mean, it was the downfall of Motorama. Everybody, you know, and sadly that there was a lot of hatred towards us, and it was really unfortunate because they obviously didn't know me, you know, and stuff. It's not like it was our choice to do it, but we just wanted to carry on the tradition. And electric really wasn't that big, if you remember back then. It was still growing, but thankfully everybody enjoyed the show through the years, and it grew and grew, and now, you know, it sells out in just a little bit. So that's pretty cool. And like I said, it's a major on my calendar every year, of one that, you know, I love to do. And with the date of the Dirt Nitro Challenge being moved here the last couple of years, you know, some of the big names come in, you know, Ryan Mayfield came in and stuff like that. So it really has upped the prestige of the event.
Most definitely.
Yeah, it takes 3 minutes to sell out. It's a lot of prestige. It goes quick.
Oh, absolutely. And it's something I thoroughly enjoy doing it because, as you guys know, it's very rare when we get to showcase the hobby in front of spectators alone, but let alone motorsports spectators. And that's why this race is so unique, and I think such a a major boost in the arm for exposure for our hobby, because I don't know how many people Brad and them get through in that show, but it's what was it, 50,000 or 100,000 or something like that in the course of 2 days. It's crazy. And, half of those people stop by and watch either the dirt oval or ours, or the crawling when there was crawling, when there was 10 scale. I mean, it was great.
For sure.
That was one of the comments I made to these guys before you had a chance to come on. We were talking a little bit about you. And one thing I think commend you on is you make it exciting for everybody. And I think even somebody that comes in that doesn't really understand the hobby, the way you can describe the races and your excitement during a race does a good job of showcasing, as you use your words, what we're doing. So kudos to you there, man. I appreciate what you do.
Thank you.
Because I think it does make an impact, right? They may not buy a kit that day, but they're gonna remember it for sure.
Oh yeah, I mean that's what they hope, that they go when it takes. Wow, that was pretty cool, and all it's just got to give them the thought in their mind. You know what I mean? And hopefully they see one of the banners from one of the sponsors and stuff, and like, oh, I remember that brand, and when they go into their local hobby shop. But at least it puts remote control in the eyes of the people, and when they're thinking to do something with their kids, or they're looking for a new hobby, that maybe, yeah, I remember seeing that. Let's go track down a hobby shop and see what we can find.
Yeah, I think for anybody coming into the arena, right, that isn't familiar with what's going on, right, they come into the A-scale arena, they're like, oh, checking this out. If you have an announcer that's monotone, right, they come in, they see the cars running, especially electric. But if there's no excitement coming from the race director, right, they're like, oh, check this out. Oh, cars going around. But they come in and they hear you talking about, it could be like a 4th and 5th place battle in the race. It's not even the leader, right? And you're making it seem like the 4th and 5th place battle is just as good as, the A main battle that would be going on later on. And, you take guys that are in lower mains, the way you announce it makes them, they feel special in the race. You know what I mean? That's what people ultimately, I guess, want to feel in some type of, semi-professional race environment, whatever you want to call the level at which the amateur guys are going out. But anyway, just your ability to do that, second to none.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it. And I look at it like, to me, the guys who are in the H main, that's their A main. And they're given 100%, whatever their ability, whatever bad luck they had, they're given 110% to try to win that thing and move from 4th to 5th or whatever. And that's what the hobby's about. We all want to win and we all want to stand on top of the box, but that doesn't happen all the time. So if you can go out and have a good battle, and you and I having a battle for 4th and 5th, and you pass me and I pass you, and we high five as we walk up the drive. Oh, that was a blast. That's the key. And if I can add a little bit of excitement to it, then the customer or the racer is going to have that much more enjoyment doing the event and being at what we've given them. And that's my goal for sure.
Yeah.
Mission accomplished.
Yeah, we try. Not always. I fail many times, but we definitely give 100%.
Who would you next question I'm going to pass to somebody else, but before I do, you do such a great job in announcing, like we're talking about. Who did you emulate, like when you first started? Like, who was a race announcer, maybe not even RC, that you liked, that you kind of got a style from?
Oh boy. I never thought of getting into announcing, and I've been kind of contemplating and looking back on my life here, what kind of led me into this. And I've never been one for, kind of in front of things. Although I did remember that, like my junior, senior year, I wanted to do morning announcements in the morning. And I don't know why and where that came from. And then I remember when I was a kid, now I'm dating myself for sure, but in Milwaukee where I live, there was we didn't have a professional hockey team. We had a, just minor league, but they used to be on the AM radio. And I remember as a kid listening to that, because we used to go watch them. My dad, when he's back and had some extra money, used to take us to the Admiral games. And we used to watch. And then I would listen to him on the radio because it kind of made me a fan. And I remembered listening to this guy. I had this little round green AM radio I put under my pillow and listened to it at night because I'd get in trouble because couldn't have it. So, Dad, if you're hearing this, sorry, I didn't listen. And I had it under, and I remember the announcer, and I can't recall his name. I was quite young, but I remember him and how he changed his voice, told the story of what, and I was watching it on the radio.
Right.
And that I didn't think of that then, and probably didn't think of it till maybe 20 years ago. But then I thought, that guy, by changing the inflection in his voice, told a story that you couldn't see. And it fascinated me. And as you get older and you listen to the commentators like, Bob Uecker, who was here, or Vince Scully, or, the guys that were just epic sports commentators, it's all in how you change the sound of your voice. And I can only go back to that guy. I remember that. And somehow back in the filing cabinet, maybe that's what, I took when I started doing this, and I just started doing it and enjoying it. So that's about the only person I can say, that was something that really stuck with me my whole life.
That's really cool.
For a better response, that's great.
Yeah, it was a great memory. And I just remember that. And I was just thinking of this a couple of weeks ago, and I wanted to do a little searching and find out, back in the 1970s, late 70s, early 80s, who was the Milwaukee Admirals announcer for radio. I'd love to do that, because he definitely put something in my mind, and the way that I grown to be it feels weird saying a race commentator. Yeah, but I enjoy it.
That's awesome.
You earned the title. Toby, take it away.
Take it away. All right. So you just got back from Australia, right? From the World's warm-up?
Yeah, I was down there for the at Hills Off Road for the World's warm up, and I said I went there in October. I went there as a racer. I had a chance to take Chase Lemieux. Chase is from my hometown. He's kind of unofficially family to me, so I wanted to give him a chance to go down there and get a warm up. And I went down there as a racer. And fellas, it was old school 10 scale off road racing. It was the most fun I had running 10 scale in decades. I mean, there was no sugar. There was no high traction. In the morning, the track was wet and you were, loosen up the slipper a little bit. And then, in midday, I got a little bit more traction. The afternoon on day one, it was a little bit more. Then it rained the next morning, and then the track evolved every time. And it was so much fun. There was no tire wear. There was no tire games. It was controlled tire, but you knew you were going to get a couple runs out of a set of tire, and it worked. And it was a blast. The club was fantastic. I learned that when I was down there, and I told everybody after that race in October, when I come back, the World Championships down there in October are going to be the best World Championships in 20 years, because it's going to be outdoor the way a lot of us old guys do it. The World Championship, like last year's hobby action, or 2 years ago, I guess, whatever it was, it was awesome, but it was a different kind of World Championship, because it was, kind of controlled, conditioned, indoor. So I think this is just going to be as amazing, but on a totally 180 degrees out, because it's going to be outdoor in a park setting. It's it's in this bushland in the bottom of a valley. There's packs of cockatoos flying around, and kookaburra birds coming down trying to take your French fries from you. And there's eucalyptus trees everywhere you go, and we keep looking for koalas, but they're in a different area of the park. But it's just going to be a world-class event, and it was cool to be down there. We did the live stream with RC Race Media, and we did something that we've never done before in live stream. We took the live stream and broadcast the audio into the pits and the bleacher section and stuff like that. And we announced live, not on a TV. Normally when we do live RC, like when I'm at Silver State, we're in a different area, and I watch off of TV and commentate off of TV. But this we did live, and it really, really worked out well. The racers in the pits and the spectators, they really appreciated having some color commentary other than the race director kind of announcing that you normally would hear. It was cool, storytelling and, just kind of filling the air during the downtime. It was really, really a lot of fun and worked well.
So you the race announcer was calling the race, and then you would come on after that. So there wasn't two guys talking at the same time, or
no, we were at full time. There were no speaker. Our speakers you couldn't hear on the driver's stand. So there was only the referee and the race director. And the race director they had there wasn't really, he was a scorekeeper. He wasn't a race director. He was there taking score, call the next heat up, drives the marshal. The computer kind of ran, go Toby, go George, go Scotty, kind of start, call the order and stuff. So there wasn't, like a normal announcer commentator there. The guys told me when they, Orlowski and them said when you stood to the left of the stand, they could just kind of hear Mitch and I on the microphone. And Mikhail said that when he was kind of getting close to the lead, he was like, I was listening to Scotty, trying to figure out where I was and stuff like that. So it was kind of funny, but it was, just kind of made for the spectators and the pit area and the live stream.
That's awesome. How do the guys kind of cope with that kind of surface with kind of modern day cars? Are they, they put in old stuff on their cars? Are they, I don't even know how, how they do that, right?
It's a big change for the guys, but they all welcomed it with open arms. There was nobody, not one guy said, "Oh, this is crap, man. I miss it. I want some traction." Not one of them. They all embraced it because they all, have watched the videos of old school and know about the past races and stuff like that. So they welcomed it with open arms, and the teams and the engineers, they thrive for that challenge. Trish was there from Schumacher, and Brent was there from Associated. Kurt Winger was there from Associated. So they were there, trying to try different things. Martin Bayer was there from X-Ray. He came down, working with Ari and Chase and the guys. So it was really, they were up to the challenge for sure to do it. And it's just going to make for great race. And they were running, 6.5 motors in modified, and in four-wheel drive, where normally, they're running, 6.0s and 5.5s and stuff like that. So it was great. And it wasn't about adding more boost and turbo and stuff like that. It was just getting the car down, getting some traction. It was great.
Yeah, no, it's going to be super exciting seeing like Mayfield coming over, and then a lot of the young guns who probably never even run 10 scale on that surface before. They've only ridden on carpet and slick tires and sauce and whatever blue surfaces. So it's going to be a good time for sure.
It was great. Daniel Kobovic came over with Mikhail Orlowski and Schumacher, and Daniel's never really been on that surface. Mikhail's done some testing and stuff like that on it, but he got up the pace. I felt bad for a young Bartek Zalewski from Poland who drives X-Ray. On carpet, forget about it. He runs with Orlowski. He runs with, all those guys flat out, no problem. And he struggled a bit. He had some bad luck. A couple of qualifiers in four-wheel drive. His transponder missed a couple. And kind of over there, it's like, hey, tough luck, where I'm different. If I'm out there, if I'm race directing and somebody missed a transponder, they didn't like cut the track. It just stopped working. I'll add a lap. But kind of official rules are, you guys know, it's just bad luck. Your stuff's got to work. But so he missed a couple. So he was back in the D main. But, it's going to be new for a lot of them. And it was. And the guys that went there definitely have an edge when it comes to World's time for sure.
Yeah, Rivkin was out there, right, for the warm up, and then the race. I guess you went to before, right, last year. I think he went to both, right? So
he was there for both, and a local kid there, Lachlan Donnelly. He's just lights out fast. I mean, it's his home track, and everybody was asking me afterwards. It's his home track. That's why he won. Like, after when you got Rivkin, Lemieux, Bayer, Orlowski, Kobovic, you got these top guys, you know what I mean? And after two-wheel drive different, obviously two-wheel drive, a little less traction. But once two-wheel drive done, it was four-wheel drive. Any home field advantage this guy had, it was gone. These guys figured it out. Davey Bata was there, and he picked it up really quick. And, a bunch of other guys, Tom Rendernick and all the young guns from America, they picked it up pretty quick. So for him to win two-wheel drive, okay, we'll give him a little nod because he's used to that low-level condition. But four-wheel drive, to hold off Orlowski and Rivkin and these guys, Ari Bakla, who's the local hot shoe there, he's been, 12-time national, 15-time, 40, I don't know. He's been winning in Australia for years. To hold off those guys, it was legit that he's definitely in a conversation for the win come October.
Nice. I got one more question, and then I had it over to the other guys. Where you going next? What's your next event?
What I got Silver State coming up in two weeks or a week and a half or so. I got a week off. I'm going to take my brother up north to our cabin in the woods that we've had up there for ages to kind of take his mind off life and show him some, just relax a little bit. And then I got Silver State. Then right from Silver State, I go right to the Philippines. We got our second round of the Asian Buggy Championships in Manila. Nice. And that's going to be, that's huge. Yeah. It's 250 entries, and Angaro's coming, Masakura's coming. Just
awesome.
Yeah, a bunch of guns. Then from there, I got a race in UK after that. Then I got ETS the week after that. So I got a busy next month and a half or so.
Nice.
Yeah.
Right. Getting those air miles in.
Yeah, it's unfortunately it's the only way I can get there, and but that's what I got to do. So I enjoy it. I don't mind the flying as much. It's just part of the job now. You know, it's grueling. You know, Australia, LA to Sydney is 15 hours. You know, and I don't know if you guys know, but I'm kind of not built for coach, so you know, it's a little uncomfortable. But hey, keep my eye on the prize and, you know, do a good job and have fun and share the hobby, then it's worth it.
Awesome.
Tommy, you want to take away?
Let me just kind of build on what we were just saying, Scotty. With what do you notice like for differences like in different areas when you go to different races, right? Obviously, you're talking to Philippines, you're on all these different continents. Do you notice anything in particular? You notice that maybe that's different or maybe similar? Just be curious what you see from the RC culture.
A bit different as you go around the world. I think the passion people have for it, the same. The embrace and love for the hobby, absolutely the same. I think in some places even more, in some of the countries where, you know, not so, you know, so like the Philippines and stuff like that. I think maybe it's appreciated more because money's harder to come by in some of these places. So guys maybe enjoy it a bit more. It's not so racing, got to win, looking for a sponsorship, where it's, you know, I do this because I get to hang out with my friends and sharing the love for the hobby in some ways. So there's still places over there that it's still kind of where it used to be here, maybe 15, 20 years ago, before, you know, everybody's got to have sponsorship. And every week, you know, hey, look, this is my new body clip sponsorship. And, it's
10%.
That unfortunately takes away a little bit in my eyes and it's the way it is. I'm not complaining. It's the way it is. And, you know, things like that. But, you know, over there, you see Facebook posts about, you know, me and my mates, we had a good time and stuff like that, compared to sometimes here, you know, it's a bit different. So that's the cool side. And the other side is, you know, here in America, we're all Americans. We're all racing, whether you're in Georgia or Wisconsin or California, Pennsylvania, whatever, you know, it's all under one flag. But, you know, when you're over in Europe, you know, I drive 6 hours. I'm still in Wisconsin. You know, you drive 6 hours in Europe, you've went across 4 nations.
Right.
So the guys, when they travel, there's a real pride of country in a lot of the racers where they go. And I'll never forget, first time I really noticed this, it was 2007. I was in Vienna, Austria, announcing the European Off-Road Championships. And, you know, huge turnout, people from, 20 nations there throughout Europe. And it was like the G main, something like that. And this guy, you know, a friend of everybody there, and he's out there in his G main, and all the guys from Great Britain came out of the tent, and they're standing on the sidelines, hanging, you know, waving the English flag, you know, for Great Britain, and they're all cheering on their mate. And this was the G main. And it really stood out with me, and something that I never forget. And I bring it up anytime, you know, people talk to me or ask me a question like that. It was really an eye opener for me, because there's these guys. He was in the low main, having fun, battling for 5th or whatever it was, and all his friends and fellow countrymen were there cheering him on for the pride of their country. And that was really, really unique and cool, kind of humbling in some way that I think maybe that's kind of lost because we're from America and it's a big country and it's, and it was really something that I remember seeing that. And I'll never forget that. That was a moment in my career where I was like, yeah, things are a little different outside America when it comes to racing. And it was a really, really cool moment in my career.
Awesome.
Do you see that from the other drivers in the world, though, when the U.S. is in other countries, or not as much?
I think so. Yeah. I mean, if you go out there race and if some of the top guys that got time, they're cheering on their buddy on the sidelines or whatever, from here and stuff like that. But, most of the big races are so intense nowadays that I think sometimes that fun gets lost a little bit. But yeah, that's something I'll always remember.
Cool. That's cool.
Pretty cool story. Toby, check your PM for me. Vin, we're gonna throw it to you. We got lots of questions for you, Scotty.
Oh, no problem. I'm happy you asked me to be on. Thank you.
Cool.
Yeah, Scotty. So what I'm wondering is, and I'm sure the listeners, what got you all into this? Did you race RC yourself?
Yeah, it's kind of a weird story. I was in the military in the early 80s, was in the Navy, and I got out of the Navy, and bowling was my hobby. I bowled when I was a kid with my brother in high school and stuff like that. I was never any good at it, but I enjoyed it. And I got out of the Navy and pick up the bowling ball again and, do bowling. And then I heard an ad on the radio for trackside hobbies, dirt oval racing. Like, wow, this sounds cool. Always been a race fan, enjoyed racing. And my dad used to take us to a local dirt track once in a while when I was a kid. So, I always kind of been a race fan. And I walked in that one night. It was a dirt oval track, kind of slightly banked, hard packed clay dirt oval. And I walked in. I was like, oh, my goodness, what is this? This is the coolest thing I ever saw. And I got out of Navy, and I didn't have any money and stuff like that. So I remember standing in the racetrack, and at the counters looking, oh, man, I could buy that, and then wait a couple more weeks and I could get a charger and, just looking up at the stuff on the shelf and, oh, my goodness, this is cool. And ended up buying a used setup, sometime. And I started racing and absolutely fell in love with it. And I kind of picked it up really well and kind of did well just out of the gate with it. And was really, really fell in love with the hobby. And I tell a story, that was end of 88, start of 89. And I ain't touched a bowling ball since. So it's just encompassed my life. And then as the years progressed, I asked the owner, hey, can I work on race nights and sweep the floors and take out the trash and race for a fee? Because I didn't have the money. I was, just got out of, like I said, the military, living at home with my folks. And so I got to, race and then, take trash out and clean the pits after race night and stuff like that. And then I asked if I could work on like Friday nights and kind of help out and everything. Then fast forward a few years later, unfortunately, the guy who was running the business was not doing a good job and kind of running it into the ground, and he was ready to go out of business. And this was start of 93. And I said, hey, you interested in selling rather than closing? He's like, yeah. So I talked to my dad and, got his opinion. And he's like, yeah, do it. So March of 93, I bought it and took it over with my family and kind of built it up. Got lots of lessons in business for sure. I kind of had a tough end of some deal with lawyers and stuff like that. And, but grew it in. So we would race 2-3 times a week. Obviously owning the hobby shop, you got to have an announcer. So I would just start announcing weekly shows, and through the years and, more and more I would do it. And then in the late 90s, I started back in the Tamiya Championship Series. I started racing that a lot and just traveling to nationals and things. And people would ask me, hey, Scotty, you want to announce? Because they heard that I enjoyed announcing. So I'd be at whatever track and got to announce. And yeah, I started doing that. And then in the late 90s, I had a race at trackside called the U.S. Touring Car Championship. And you guys remember the hobby show they used to do in Chicago all the time back in the day? It was amazing. And I got to meet a lot of the industry people, and I got to meet Mike Reedy back then. And then it was probably 90, 98, 99, something like that. Mike Reedy says, hey, Scotty, I like your touring car idea. Back then when the batteries were changing all the time and, every 6 months there were new batteries. So we switched wheels and 12-turn motor limits. Mike Reedy calls me up and says, Scotty, hey, I like what you're doing. I want to come out to your touring car race, and I'm going to bring Mark Pavidis and Billy Easton out. I'm like, here we are, some podunk carpet track in the middle of, this is when we moved from dirt to carpet. And all of a sudden, this little touring car race blew up. David Junn came out from Tamiya, and it just grew and grew. And then that progressed through the years. And then it was 2001. Mike Reedy called me up and said, Scotty, we got the Reedy Touring Car Race of Champions, back in the touring car heyday. And Scotty, would you be interested to come out and announce and race direct it? And we'll pay for your flight and hotel. We'll pay you a fee. And I'm like, this is Mike Reedy. I'd have done it for free. I mean, it's the most, prestigious race in the world for touring car. And that was kind of the beginning. And Mike kind of gave me my first big shot on the, world stage, if you would. And I got to go out and do that. And it kind of changed my life in so many ways. And through the years, I built up a really good relationship with Mike Reedy. I say this without hesitation. Next to my dad, he probably affected my life more than any other person in the world, because when he brought Mark and Billy to our hobby shop, it put us on the national map for racetracks, and catapulted our race from just a Midwest touring car race to a national race. And then fast forward a few years later, he brought me out to California to the Tamiya track and doing that on the world stage. It was amazing. And our relationship built and built and built, and, really became, pretty close. And that's kind of where my career kind of launched from. And now, I'm blessed to be able to do what I do and, share my love for the hobby with everybody else.
Awesome. That's an amazing story.
Yeah.
Sorry, man. Yeah, man. That's so cool.
It's amazing to think of the road that life takes you. I never thought of it. And before the Navy, I remember walking down the streets of Japan when we were in Yokosuka, Japan, and in Tokyo and stuff like that. I walked right by the hobby shops, not paying one bit of attention. There was one right outside the base in Yokosuka on the 2nd Street where we go eat. And I remember the Kyosho sign in the window and the helicopters there and stuff. And that's kind of cool. Never once did I stop in. And I'm like, how dumb was I back then? Who would have known? The hobby would encompass my life. And it's funny which way life takes you, for sure.
Yeah.
Good thing you heard that radio ad.
Absolutely. Exactly.
Right.
Who'd have thunk? Exactly. Back then, it was newspaper, print, and radio. That was your advertising, or yellow pages. That was it.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Key statement you just made. The hobby has literally, become your life, right? So lots of people that are in the hobby, it's just a hobby, right? It's enjoyment. There's other guys at different levels where they're more involved. Let's say a guy like Lance, right, where he's doing promotions, but then he's got his other life. You track owner, and then literally just totally encompassed. I think that's just you're obviously very unique in that, to say the least.
It is. I kind of think back, now that I'm getting older and stuff like that, the choices you make in life and what road it takes you down. And I never would have thought that this would be, my piece of the world of what I did for a profession and things like that. And, you think back, I have no other skills. You know what I mean? The only job I could be a greeter at Walmart. Welcome to Walmart. That's all I got. During COVID, I never thought I'd lose my job, during the COVID and everything like that. And the way life was here, I couldn't get all that free money the government was giving out. So I was like, I might have to go get a job. And that's the only thing I think I could do.
How do your for us, when we go out socially, right, we always kid around this. It's like, we meet different people, have kids and meet different parents, right? And you get into discussions of hobbies, right? Most guys' answer is golf, right? So they're like, oh, what do you like to do? I'm like, oh, I like to race A scale off-road, and it's like crickets, right?
Right, exactly.
So
Scale motorsports. Yeah.
Scale motorsports, there you go, Toby.
I like that better, Toby. Yeah, that's good. Yeah.
What's that? But how is that for you? Like amongst your peers, right? Because you're obviously, doing it at a completely different level. You're running events. You're being requested worldwide. I mean, your friends have to see you, traveling to different places, or people that know you in the community but haven't seen you in a long time. What's that like?
It's unique for sure, because the people in my inner circle that they're used to me and all the gang at trackside. It's just another day with Scotty, blah, blah, blah. And you know what I mean? So it's they're used to it and stuff like that. But when I get to travel to other areas and stuff like that, it's honestly pretty humbling it's kind of weird saying this, but to be known by so many. And when I go to places, people, oh, Scotty, I've listened to you on, YouTube for years and everything like that. It's for sure humbling and sometimes not uncomfortable. Just it's wow. There's the reach of the hobby is quite great with the internet these days, and the amount of people that know me or want to say hey and get a picture or something like that. It's pretty humbling to know that many people enjoy what you do. I don't 100% don't think I do it better or anything than the other guys out there. I just do it different. And I've always tried to say that, and I just try to be myself and do it different. But, it's neat to have a lot of people that really enjoy, my style of, the way I do things and to run things, and it's enjoy it. And, Toby and I have worked together the last couple of years at Motorama. So I think he kind of sees it now in a different angle. Obviously he's from behind the lens and stuff like that. But when he's right at my side and sees all the things that go into it, it's an amazing side of the hobby that I get to take part in.
Now, I'm going to answer this question for you, but I think your favorite class is 8 scale on road.
Oh, well, yeah. I mean, that's only come to be in the last few years. Back in the day, 12 scale was like my favorite.
Okay.
That was my first like Roar National that I won, was that. And then I got into touring car back in the Tamiya and then Associated TC 3 days, stuff like that. Then, about 4 or 5 years ago, I got involved with the Infinity Company. We were doing some races over in Asia, and I got one of the cars, and oh my goodness, that's another level of amazing. It's 12 scale on steroids. It's just to race a car that's doing 50, 60 miles an hour, that shifts gears, and you're driving for 45 minutes on your tiptoes, because if you blink at the wrong time, boom, done. Because the cars are so fast. So it's an adrenaline rush, and the fear and the pressure and the excitement and the anxiety. You just pick an adjective. It's just all there. And it's what was the old ABC Wilder Sports, the thrill of victory, the agony of defeat.
Agony of defeat.
Chris Economac, back then, and Jackie Stewart and stuff like that. That's the kind of thing. It's either good or it's
bad,
kitted up. So I got to rebuild a car. I don't think I'm going to make the next qualifier. So that's kind of become the fun for me. Although racing 10 scale buggy there in Australia last October, that brought it back too. That was amazing fun.
You get to pick up the radio now and again, Scotty?
As much as I can. I got back Monday from from Australia on Tuesday night. Yeah, so what is it? Yesterday, whatever. I went racing at trackside, so I did a little bit of stock buggy
That's
and
awesome.
short course racing. So yeah, I had to do a little bit of racing when anytime I'm back home. I try to go run at Tuesday World at trackside
Nice.
Awesome.
for sure.
You know what?
How'd
I
you
think
do?
that. Good.
Oh, I participated. I participated. I made both A's. There was only an A in stock buggy, so I made the A. Short course. I did okay. We had fun.
Good.
Nice.
What I was going to say was, I think part of your magic, right, is that ultimately you are a racer. So when you're seeing guys race out there, you get that same, that same feeling that brings us back, right? It's that gem, it's that adrenaline rush, it's that moment of battle, right? So you can see it and you appreciate it when it's happening in other guys, and that comes out in your voice inflection as you're racing. I don't think if you were, somebody who had won a roar title, like you said before, or even been involved in racing, still actively racing, I don't think it would come across the same way. So I think that's part of your secret sauce.
I would agree with that. I think it helps for sure in me doing the best job I can, because I've been in your guys' shoes on a driver's stand when something happens or whatever the situation. I think it makes me look at it from not only the official or the race director, commentator point of view, but also as a racer that, all right, maybe I should address this way. So I'm sure it has a lot to do with, helping me do the best job I can.
Very cool. I got a slew of questions here.
Sure.
Ben, you got another question?
Go ahead, George.
Okay. All right. Scotty, you're involved, obviously, internationally, nationally, running thousands of races, maybe tens of thousands of races in your career, right? To say the least. Like how many served. What is it about the race format, if at all, that you would like to see changed, or that you have ideas that could be an improvement to the way our formats are currently run?
All right. How long's this show? That's a tough one, because
As long as you want to be here.
no. I mean, one thing I wish all the races were lap races, not time races. At least the mains or the features. I think we started doing that I do a dirt oval race called the Chili Bowl, and we started doing everything is lap races. And I think that gets way more to the realm of real racing, us mimicking real racing. I understand qualifying is a little different. You can qualify in heat races, stuff like that. But if you do it in the mains, I think lap races are better, because somebody gets out to a lap and a half lead, and they break with a lap to go, they're still going to win. So I think if you could make all the features lap races, 20 lap feature, 40 lap, whatever, I think it would add a new complexity to racing, where you have to be in it to win it all the way to the end. That's the biggest thing I think
That's cool.
we would do. And I go by, like I said, the Chili Bowl race we did. I wanted to do it for many years. We used to do it at trackside way back in the day. We run some enduro lap races and stuff like that, and we had a lot of fun in that. It was really cool, 10 laps to go, 9 laps, you count it down. But it was the year before I was going to make the change at the Chili Bowl. I wanted to do it. I started talking it to kind of our team that has the Chili Bowl, and I said, I'm thinking about doing this for next year. And sure enough, that year, an outlaw sprint car, the guy was leading. He had like a lap on the field, literally coming out of turn 4, 20 feet from the finish line. Blew a spur gear drivetrain, rolled to the stop at the bottom of the corner. And I'm like, as it's watching, and I'm, oh my God, what's going to happen? And I had to look, because it was the last, there was 5 seconds to go. He was coming to the finish line. And I had to look at the score sheet and everything like that. He had a lap on second, so he eventually won. But if that was a lap race like we did the next year, he wouldn't have won the most prestigious class at the event. And it kind of really conquered in my decision. Okay, we're going to do this, guys, because this is exactly, you got to finish, you got to take the checkers. And so that's the biggest thing I think we could do. There's so many racers at races now. You can't really lengthen the time, even though motors and batteries, sure, we could longer range, but the days just don't allow. Yeah, exactly. So that's the biggest change I'd like to see go to lap races.
What about like eliminating qualifying? Like I've thought about it and talked about it with these guys, where we go out and you have multiple races. You go out and every race that you have is a race. So maybe you start the day and there's just a 2-hour open practice, or depending, time limit practice, and then you have X number of races. Maybe you have 5. Each guy is in 5 races, and then your points from that will put you in like final mains.
Big fan of that. We do that at the Chili Bowl. So we run 3 rounds of qualifying, and it's heat races, like you go to your local dirt track. And you get set up. We got a qualifying format that looks at your laps during practice and sets you. And if you're TQ, you're in race 1, second qualifier in race 2, third qualifier in race 3. So if you got 100 guys, you got 1st through 10th qualifier is car 1. Then 11th through 20th is car 2. Then 31st through 40th is car 3, kind of in that. So then you're racing in a heat race. Your goal is to win your heat race. And you win. You get a point for winning. You get a second. Second place is 2 points and thing. The next round, we invert the grid and stuff like that. And then it's heat racing. And I love it. It works out great. But it's I don't think our industry is ready outside of the oval world. I don't think they're ready for something that big of a change. I'd love to do it, but I don't know if it would be embraced.
It's like qualifying is great, right? But you're out there for yourself, right?
Sure.
That's the whole point of qualifying, right? So you're out there and you can have a bad qualifying round, right? Whether it's your own problem or somebody getting in the mix or, just being out of circumstance. But there's, like, I notice with myself when I race, and I'm sure the other guys on the panel can probably attest to it. It's like, if I'm qualifying, yeah, the heat's on because I need a good time, right? I want to qualify in the upper group of guys. So there's always that pressure no matter what in the back of your head still in qualifying. But it's very different than when that bell goes off and you're in your main.
Oh,
so
sure.
Like your intensity changes, your vision changes, everything, because it's game on at that point. It's not like, oh, I'm just trying to qualify and get a good time. You're like, okay, this is battle now. So I think that it would be a lot more exciting for guys that were going out, especially on a single day event, because they'd have more of that. Everybody gets that adrenaline pump during the race time.
Sure.
Right? So it's like sometimes we're on the way home driving. You're like, why am I so tired? Well, I'm so tired because I had like 5 different pumps of adrenaline over like 8 hours. Right. Now you're in the car, you got no more adrenaline pump, and you're not even walking around. You're about to pass out. But I think that if we had more racing instead of qualifying, that the individual person going to the race would have a higher level of excitement throughout the day versus, all right, I have, you're at the track, let's say, for 8 hours. Well, out of 8 hours, you got 6 hours of qualifying that you're sitting around waiting for. And it's okay, you're waiting for your qualifying, but it's not that level of excitement. All right, okay, I'm going to be battling again, and you only get that at the end of the day. So, that's something I've been thinking about. I don't know if it makes sense in the long term, but I think it, at least for a single day event or like at a club race or something like that, where guys don't get that, normal pump, that excitement. It's really just a way to, convert it to make it much more exciting throughout the day.
I do think it does all those things, but 180 degrees of that, it will also make it, I think, in some ways more difficult, because now every race is so intense that for the race director, there's more worries about penalties, stuff like that. Everybody's on another level of intensity that, can, I don't know, make it more stressful, I think, for everybody. Again, I like it because I would rather race than qualify for sure.
Sure.
But I think some people, I don't know if they would be able to adjust that, because now everyone's a race and, oh man, Scotty took me out. Do you guys see that? Blah, 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 blah. And, and
they say that in qualifiers anyway.
Well, yeah, true. But normally in qualifying, it's spread out sometime. But I think there's both sides of the coin, but I am with you that I think it would make the people that really enjoy the racing more and make that day, especially a club day. I'd all for it for a club day. That'd be awesome to go to a race instead of having 3 qualifiers in May, and I just have 4 heads up racing with everybody. Oh,
Exactly.
I'm down for that for sure.
Exactly.
Scotty, you mentioned racing in different countries and so different culture. So I ask you a question, you can pick one answer: bumps or no bumps?
Bump ups, you mean?
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. Why not?
So you,
If time allows, for sure. There's no reason not to do it. I mean, technology, there's nothing that'll damage your equipment. You know what I mean? I think it gives us a chance as organizers or race directors to give the racers who are technically the customers a better experience at, for lack of saying, at our business. You know, when you go to a restaurant, you go to a store, you want the best experience possible. And if you can, as a race director, if we can have a program that time allows, which time is the biggest key in my eyes of bump ups or no bump ups. If time allows it, why not? Give everybody a shot. We've all been there. We've all had an A-main car and something go wrong. I forgot to tighten my pinion. Marshall stepped on my car, whatever it is, and I'm not. But hey, I can show up on Sunday and still have a chance. I'm all for it. Why not? Again, but time is the thing. A lot of times time doesn't allow, because when you do a bump ups, even, you know, at the other races, it's so much to schedule the races. When you have, you know, a few classes, it can be really tough. So time, I think, is the number one factor in being able to allow that.
okay.
You know, Toby, we have you know, our sponsor, right? That's Mr. Bump Up. So it's like
Dennis Brew.
you Dennis Brew. You probably know him already, Scott. He was at Motorama this year, right? So it's like not just Dennis, but you could have a guy that doesn't win his main, right? But you can have a guy that bumped from the D to the C to the B, right? And he's driving home and he's as giddy and as happy as like Ryan Mayfield taking home the big trophy, right?
Absolutely.
Telling all of his buddies are calling him, dude, I cannot believe you bump trained all the way DBC. That was awesome. You came from the back, you made it. You know, sometimes the small victories are the victories that bring you back racing.
Absolutely. And that's right on point, George. That's exactly the reason to do it, because that guy was an E main or F main or Z main, whatever it was.
Sure.
Yeah, bad qualifying, never. But he bumped up even one time. I've said it on record so many times. If I'm at a race and I bump up once, I won.
Yeah.
I already, if it was from the F to the E and I finished dead last in the E, it doesn't matter. I won a race, I bumped up. The event was a success. And I think that's most people's mentality is, if you get that chance to bump up, hey, it was a positive weekend. I turned bad things into a positive. I bumped up once, let alone, like you said, if you can play the alphabet game and bump all the way, then yeah, it's great. And I think, like I said earlier, leaving Saturday on a down note because it went bad, but Sunday knowing you got a chance to bump up, it gives you a reason to get up, still look forward to having a good day.
Yeah, I mean, you want to fight to win your main, right? But if you know there's no shot to bump up, you're like, I'm in the B.
Yeah.
Or, you know, whatever
Right,
you want to pick. You're like, that's it. You know, I'll win my race, okay, if I'm lucky, or hit the box. Doesn't matter what position. But, you know, there's no, like, when there's always that possibility for that step up, it's a whole different mentality. Your excitement level is different. And, yeah, I haven't been to many races where there haven't been bumps, but I can't remember. We were at some race in the last year where there wasn't any bumps going on, and I was like, what the hell is going on here? Oh, I didn't remember. It was actually at indoor, Tommy, at Brian's. He didn't do any bump ups, and Alan and I are like, what do you mean there's no bump ups? There's like 20 people here. Come on, bump somebody up.
Yeah, then you got time to do it for sure. Make it happen, because I think it gives a better experience to everyone.
Most definitely. I keep going all night. Vinny, Tom, you guys have a question? Toby just fired one off.
No, actually, I agree about what you were just talking about, and I advocated for Roar to incorporate into the ENATs going forward. So hopefully we can have bump ups there as well. But it's exactly what Scotty said. It comes down to time.
Yep.
Scotty, I'm going to ask you. I'm going to ask you a selfish question because I opened up an indoor track and I also have an outdoor track now, and I probably should send you a nickel every time I say to somebody when they're leading a race at the end and they got like 30 seconds on the field. I'm like, he's got somebody wants paper or plastic because this one's in the bag. I always say you in it when I always use your name when I say it. But,
That's trademark that.
I got a lot of stupid sayings, and
I like that. Well, hey.
I got a lot of. It's funny. We're doing a. I don't know if you've seen this thing that RCTV is doing, the weekly news.
I haven't seen
Yes.
Not yet.
Yeah, it's a great bit they're doing. It's awesome, and they asked me to be part of Where in the World is Scotty, so that's been fun. But I'll give you a little insight. So next week we're doing like a flashback to 2006. That's what the news pro. Shh, don't tell anybody. And so I went back looking at some YouTube videos from 2006 of trying to remember what I was doing. We had our big Vegas race going there. There was a reading touring car race, and I was listening to some of my old commentary and some of the old shtick, and I'm like, man, I'm still saying the same stuff I said.
That's awesome.
But it's weird, and again, it's very humbling. The amount of people that listen and say the silly things that I do and just what I do, loving what I do. It's silly, but
you have to have something. Al Roker says, "Here's what's happened in your neck of the woods" when he talks about the weather, right? Everybody's got to have their
shtick, right? Exactly. So yeah, I got a few.
What advice could you offer somebody that's new to doing it? Right, I'm trying to run the races and doing my best with it. Is there anything you see or can recommend for someone new to announcing or race directing that either whether it's a common issue or something that you say, hey, I did this and it really made a difference, right? Or I noticed by doing this, I get more engagement with the racers or whatever it might be. Just be curious if you had to give one or two pieces of quick advice, what it would be.
Find a way in your style to yell at somebody without yelling at them. And I mean that by, you've been to a lot of places where, the race director's hollering at people and stuff like that. I've never had to holler at anybody, you know what I mean? And you can remind Joey to get out to Marshall without hollering at him and belittling him on the microphone. Now, sometimes, guys just don't listen, and and you got to be a little firmer. But just try to find a way to be positive in what you do, and not have any focus on the negative. And I think if you do that, people will learn to respect that. And if there's somebody, case in point here, that's not getting out to Marshall, whatever. And finally, after 3 or 4 times, come on, Jimmy, let's get out there, buddy. Let's go. And after he's done, I'll go on and I'll find Jimmy during the break and say, Jimmy, come on, we got to do a better job at this. You know what I mean? And you take that brief moment, and then it kind of is like, I need to do a better job at that. You know what I mean? And do that. And I think that really makes for a more positive environment, especially if you're a new track and you're trying to get things going. You're what's the cliche, catch more flies with honey than vinegar or whatever it is. I think you'll earn respect faster. People have a more positive time and experience at your event if you got a smile in your voice. You guys have all been there where, you hear race directors and there's not a smile in their voice, like, oh, Jesus, we're not done yet. Come on, guys, I think there's ways to do it in a positive way with a smile. And that goes for all the experience when you're, at the race. Just try to put yourself in their shoes. And what do you like as a racer? I like when the announcer, calls the lap times, you know what I mean? And, just is not on a tone, finish the lap you're on. We've all been to racetracks where that's all you hear, So just try to think of all the things you would appreciate, when you're out there. Something that I always do, if I see a racer out there marshaling do a good job, I'll give him a shout out on a microphone. Good job there, Jimmy. Give him a thumbs up. You know what I mean? And that, I think, inspires people that, hey, you're paying attention. And even though I got to go out here and marshal, it's still important to do a good job. And I think giving accolades and an attaboy to that, really makes people want to work harder and do a better job out there.
Great advice. Thank you, sir.
Sure.
Awesome.
Scotty, good question, I hope. You've, again, seen a million races and dealt with the top echelon of racers internationally. If I'm asking the question, but what are the three most significant or memorable races that you can remember announcing in your career so far?
Ooh, boy. The three that come to mind: 1997 carpet 12 scale on-road nationals in Dalton, Georgia. I was there as a racer. Me, Paul Lemieux, a friend of ours, Greg Jones from here. We went down to Dalton, Georgia, racing touring car. And that was one of the races where the guy said, "Hey, Scotty, you want to come announce?" And it was back in the heyday of 12 scale. Joel Johnson, Josh Searle. Josh was running Barry Baker. Masami came over to mechanic. Masami was there to mechanic. And 12 scale back in the old days, 8 minutes was the race. That 7 to 8 minute was the race. Because if you pulled the trigger too much and modified, you wouldn't make 7.5 minutes. You'd dump.
Yeah.
And it was A-Main number 3, Joel Johnson, Josh Searle, and it was a long straightaway, like 120 feet long. And they're coming up, both batteries dumping. Batteries were dying. So they're down the straightaway. Boom, 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 just banging doors to the finish line. And back then it was a dot matrix printer. So they finished the lap, you hit print, and it's to see who won. And I didn't. And so that was one that was there because Masami was there and everybody was cheering. It was awesome. So that was the first one. Second one would be 2008 World Championships in Bangkok, Thailand, touring car. Mark Reinhardt of Sushihara. It'll go down. It's on record as the greatest pass ever. Har was leading. Mark was behind him. They came down the straightaway. It was an RCS Raceway right in the heart of Bangkok, a beautiful track. And I used to go there and race the TITC race many years. And Har there was the curb, and then there was the racetrack. And Mark put his car on the curb, didn't hit Har, 100% on the curb, made the pass. And it was great. It's on the internet on YouTube as like the greatest RC race ever. And unfortunately, RC Racing TV had it voiced over by a Formula One announcer, John from England. But if you watch that on YouTube, it's a great, great video and everything. But if you listen in the background, you can hear this loudmouth American going crazy in the background. But you can't. It's hard to hear over the voiceover. So that was it. And the third one that's in my memory, and it's obscure because it was not a pro race. We were at the Cactus Classic indoor at SRS, maybe 2014, 15. And there was a young girl racing stock buggy. Cameron Ayers is her name. And girl racer whooping all the boys. And she won stock buggy. I was going mental. It was an awesome race. Everybody in the place was lined up around the track cheering her on. And she won stock buggy against all the hot stock guys in Arizona and California. It was awesome. So that stands out because that was a stock race, but it was just awesome for this girl to just lay whoops on the guys, fair and square, had the talent, just an amazing family. It was awesome. So I put that one up with the World Championship battles any day of the week. Those are the three that always will stick out.
All right. And since we're an A-scale dominant podcast, what is your most memorable A-scale race? Although those are amazing stories. And then I got a follow-up question about Masami. So
Tom
what's your
F-Main at Motorama 2019.
Yeah, exactly. You know, I'm sure one of you guys was in one of the greatest races I ever called and everything. It's probably, you know, a couple of the DNC races I had the pleasure of commentating on. That DNC race is just such an epic event. That vibe that Joey and Aaron and his crew create. It's Sunday night under the lights. It's, you know, it's kind of cold. It's 40-ish, 50 degrees. The smoke just hangs in the air. And then you got, you know, the guys of Mayfield and Fend and, you know, all these guys going at it, putting on amazing races. That's that's for sure one of the greatest. And that one we had during the rain delay a couple years ago when we had to go to the indoor, showing the guys work throughout the night to move the dirt inside. It was just, they were doing, 15-second laps in 8 scale, but the show must go on, and they worked so hard to make it. And it ended up being a great race that, these guys battle it out. So, it's kind of those kind of moments that really, really stand out. And 8 scale is so awesome with the pit stops. It's, as a commentator, it lets you write a story and tell a story. And I was bummed I couldn't do Psycho Nitro Blast this last weekend. They had Lance and them do it, and they did a great job, but they brought back the Joker lane. And I love announcing with Joker lane, especially in them long 45-minute final, because the story just writes itself. You know what I mean? Fenn keeping his Joker laps to the end, where Mayfield's using them at every pit stop, and you just write the story, and it's a dream for me as a commentator, because it's an endless book of things to talk about during the course of the race. So those are some of the 8 scale memories that I have.
Awesome. I'm smiling from the stories. Great stuff. Toby, I got a few more questions, but you got one in the locked and loaded?
No, go ahead.
Gotcha. All right. What would you say is the number one race every year that you look most forward to going to?
Oh, Motorama. Come on, right?
Yeah. Okay. I don't know. I mean, there's a lot of big events that you do. I figured.
It is. I mean, there's one, but Motorama is in the conversation for sure. And that's no joke, because of all the things we talked about earlier, being able to showcase our hobby in front of thousands and thousands of not only spectators, but race fans. I mean, that is unique in itself. So for sure, that's one that's a highlight of my year. The Chili Bowl is the same thing. We do a big dirt oval in Tulsa, and all the full scale Chili Bowl is next door. So a lot of those people come over and watch. And it's Motorama on a whole nother level, because these are diehard dirt oval race fans. So they're over there watching the midgets at nighttime. During the day, they're watching RC cars go around that look just like the cars they're watching. And then you get, Tony Stewart come over, and Kyle Larson, and, all this stuff come over. So, I mean, those two events, to be able to showcase our hobby really, really are highlights of mine every year.
That's cool. Very cool. You mentioned Masami before.
Yes.
Right. So like, he's definitely somebody in my eyes. Like, I love seeing him on Facebook. I try to follow like what he's doing. His career is very different these days, right? Or what he does for a living. But what's it like with you being exposed to some of these like international greats as well as our domestic, titans? I mean, what's the personality like? Just what's your interaction with somebody like him? Like, what did you take away from meeting him once or several times?
The main thing I see when you talk about Masami and all the other guys, no matter how much a competitor they are, the Mayfield against Fenn, against Pavidis, against Masami, that there's one thing that they all share, and that's a mutual respect for each other's abilities. You can not like somebody, but you have to respect their achievements. You know what I mean? And you see that a lot in the 8 scale, guys, this guy, fighting hard against this guy, and the keyboard kings and queens, these guys hate each other. Well, maybe they really don't, you know what I mean? And, Masami back in the era, racing was totally different back then. There was zero expense spared from when Masami was leading Yokomo. They did whatever was necessary to win. It was just that direct. They did whatever it can for him to win. Testing and expensive and prototyping and all that kind of stuff. And Masami's the GOAT. There's no Michael Jordan, LeBron James argument in our world. There's one GOAT in our world, and that's Masami. 14-time world title. Nobody's ever gonna get that. I don't think anybody can. In the modern era, I think there's two guys that are in who the modern era Masamis are of our world, and that's Mikhail Orlowski and Bruno Coelho. Those two guys have the skill set to try to replicate what Masami did. Mikhail can win in 12 scale. He can win in touring car. He can win in two-wheel off-road. 4-wheel off-road. He ran 8-scale one time and made the Euros final. He doesn't have an 8-scale ride, but he's trying to get that happen so he can win on all disciplines. You look at Bruno, same time. He wins in off-road. He win on touring car. He win in 8-scale. If he would focus on 12-scale, he could do that too. So those are the two guys. You look at Mayfield, arguably best 8-scale racer, but could he wheel a 12-scale? Don't know. He's got the talent. Don't know if he could. You know what I mean? It would have to be a lot of dedication to do it. And same with, other guys. Mark Reiner, could he run on all the disciplines and things like that? That's up for debate. So when you see that picture of Masami with, in his outfit, all his cars and all his trophies and everything, it's an amazing thing. And in the mid 2000s, when I started doing that Reedy race and everything, and I got to meet Masami, multiple times a year, he's like, Scotty, some year we're going to get you to come to Yatabe Arena in 10 ounce. And for me, I mean, that's the holy grail. That's the, Indy 500, Daytona 500, to be able to go to Yatabe Arena, the most, historic venue in our world of racing. And, the first time he, messaged me, hey, we're going to come over and do that. I mean, I was done. I was good, drop the microphone. I've reached the pinnacle to be able to go to Yatabe, announce a race with Masami. It was awesome. But to go there and be in that hallowed ground of Yatabe was amazing. And that's where my friendship with Masami has grown through the years. And you realize just how much of a talent he is. And, in Japan, he did that TV show for so many years where he would, jump his car into a basketball hoop and, try to beat, there's all kinds of stuff. He was well-known on TV there too. And, just a true ambassador for the hobby for sure. So, yeah, great guy.
Nice.
Very cool. Got a couple more, and then we won't take up any more of your time. Our hobby, right? We have ambassadors, right? And it's important to be a brand ambassador. As far as you're concerned, when you look at all the professionals that we have in the U.S., who do you think's the best brand ambassador we have in the U.S. and then internationally?
I don't think I could even pinpoint like one individual. I think they've all learned how important it is now. If we rewind back, the days of Matt Francis, back in the days, Matt Francis, Adam Drake, I think they were the pinnacle in the early years of brand ambassadors. I would be at races and I see Matt Francis working on his car and, he's in the A main, it's the D main up and he's working on his car. But I saw somebody come over and say, hey, can you help me? And Matt take his truck, move it aside and start working on a car. Adam did the same thing. A lot of the guys did, but those guys were the first guys where I really noticed that, all right, it's more than just a win for these guys, and they do more. Then, there was guys like Paul Lemieux. Paul Lemieux kind of grew up with that mentality that when he became good, he always took time to help the average racer because he remembers he was one of those, back in the day. And I think now with social media and things like that, it's almost you have to be. You have to be more than just a top gun in the hobby. You have to do things. And you look at all the videos, like Adam Drake. I'm a huge Adam Drake fan. What he's done now to expose the hobby to us normal people and what he's taught by his videos. You guys watch his videos?
Yeah, for sure.
I watch them all, and I don't run 8-scale buggy, but you can learn so much from them because it's all relative to off-road, camber, caster, ride height, radio settings, all that. It's brilliant. And I remember talking to him when he first started. He took his iPhone, set it on, remember the big old school Mugen bags that you had? Those old Mugen bags? He would set it on top of his Mugen bag and just do those videos. And it started out, and obviously we've all watched them. And I mean, it's the best content out there. He was the first one in my eyes that I remember and noticed doing it. And it really, really has helped. And now you watch them all, they're all doing it and trying to give back, not only represent their brand, wearing their, T-shirts and stuff like that, or, wearing a hat. But it's, they're trying to take their knowledge and share it with everyone and gives us a chance to ask these questions. They all got, do chats online and stuff like that. And it's really, I think it's become part of their job now. Whenever, it used to be, you got to win, but now it's also, you got to win, but also you have to try to help your brand and be an ambassador for that brand to talk about your speedo settings or how do you glue tires and, you know, all that kind of stuff. So I think it's been embraced by a lot of guys. And, you know, Mayfield, you know, he's got that bad boy image, you know, to the people that have never been to a race or whatever. He's a bad boy, fierce competitor, you know, got to win. But if you go to a race and hang out with him, he'll help you out. No problem. Hey, I'm struggling with my diff. Hey, no problem. This is what you need to do. You know what I mean? You hey, there's a cooler over there. You want some Blue Mountains or whatever, you know, grab one here and I'll kind of show it to you. So they all do it at their own way and everything like that. So it's yeah, I think they all really have embraced that part of their job.
It's important, right? I mean,
absolutely.
It's the other half of the sticks, so to speak. Right,
Mm-hmm.
racing's one thing. It's about properly representing, and you know, we see tons of new guys at the track all the time. You know, every season or you know every other weekend, somebody else shows up. So you can see the trepidation that people have when they come to a race for the first time. So there's nothing better when somebody's like, you know, I think all of us here on this panel do a good job when we see new people at the track. You know, very welcoming, warming, inviting. Hey, man, come here. You know, or first time at the track, you've never seen it. Or you know, I make comments to guys like, "Oh, you'll be back. You know, you'll be back. I could see you already got the bug. You know, you've been in that corner watching for like 40 minutes.
Yep.
So it's important because it's the only way that perpetuates the hobby, right? So I'm always trying to talk to people, or I have some stickers on my truck, so I can't tell you how many times at like a light or in a shopping plaza where somebody's like, "Hey, do you race RC cars?" Because I have like a 1/8 off road on the back, or I have like a small buggy vinyl on the back of my car. So it's always great when, you know, you can interact with people like that. Side note, I was doing a job. I'm in construction mainly. So I was doing a job and one of the guys had seen a sticker on the back of my car. We started talking. He wasn't into cars. He was into helicopters, but we had a 15-minute conversation just about the hobby. Do you know what I mean? About what radios, where do you go, what's happening. And every guy that I've ever met that's in the hobby to some degree, I don't care if it's a boat or car, racing oval, racing dirt, flying airplanes, it's always the same camaraderie. It's like it's almost as if we have somewhat of the same type of blood element, right? You just meet those same people. You can have that chit chat about it, and you literally made a new friend as a result of it. So,
yes, absolutely.
It's the one thing I love most about the hobby is that you can always, when you find other people that are into the hobby, it's almost like you've met like a tribesman, so to speak.
Oh yeah,
so,
brotherhood
right?
For sure. There's no doubt.
Definitely. Scotty, we asked you lots of questions, and you know, it goes without saying how much we appreciate your involvement in the hobby, not only as a race director, but as an enthusiast, as a promoter. As a racer yourself, you know, that comes through every single time that you're at an event or we get to interact with you. So, you know, from the bottom of my heart, and I'm sure everybody else that will be watching this, you know, we thank you for your involvement in our beloved sport.
Well, thank you. That's really kind of you. I appreciate it. Thanks for asking me to be on. I love the hobby very much, and I love sharing, you know, my experience with people and helping make people enjoy the hobby more. And you know, I'm proud to do what I do and share my love for it with everyone around the world. I'm really it's a big honor for sure.
And
When
it really shows. I remember working with you on the track crew for Motorama, and you came out, you got us all food, you make sure everyone was okay, and then you put on a great show. Like, you're just amazing for the sport, a great ambassador yourself, and we appreciate you so much. I just had to put that in there. Sorry, George. Go ahead.
No, absolutely. Tommy, you got anything that you want to say to Scott?
No, I just think, look, I think the passion comes through. I think ultimately we're all, George, you were starting to say before, right? Helping people at the track and everything else. Mm-hmm. It's critical that we get new people into the hobby. If we want to continue to do this, we need to get new people in. And Scotty, I think, you know, you're one of the best ambassadors we have. You know, I thought about what you said before about Motorama and Chili Bowl. Like, those are great opportunities to showcase the hobby. Yeah. I mean, it's a Facebook targeted ad, right? If we could choose the group we wanted to advertise to and put RC ads in front of you, put these type of motorsport events. It's a targeted ad. So you have a targeted audience, which is perfect. So I'm just grateful that you do it, and the passion comes through. I mean, I think you're just a good guy that enjoys doing it, and we need more of that, because I think that brings new people in that are anxious to start the hobby. I think overall, a lot of introverts in the RC hobby. So anything we do to make it more welcome is a good thing. So I appreciate that, and thanks for all you do.
Thanks for the kind words. I appreciate it. It means a lot. Thanks.
We by no means are asking you to leave as we conclude the interview segment with you. As part of this podcast, we try to cover recent races. We try to basically cover our sponsors. And then after we do the main segment, we try to get into any new products that came out. So Tom covers some of that stuff, or Vin. And then Vin has his own setup segment that he does. So I think the topic for tonight is tire gluing, trying to show guys how to do it properly.
Cool.
And then Toby does a little finale where he basically goes over the balance of races coming out in the future schedule. So we would love for you to hang out and commentate on that if you'd like. If you got to go, we understand as well. One thing I do want to say before you let us know if you're going to hang out or split is one of the reasons that I got involved in doing this podcast with the guys was obviously, we're older. So it's about what can we do to pay the hobby forward, right? Like
Sure.
I got a bunch of boats to my left that I love boat racing now, RC wise, met a whole bunch of different guys in the RC community for boating. I'm in love with my A-scale racing. I have such good friends in the A-scale racing community. I look forward to doing it. But it was after all these years racing and all these years of being in the hobby, what can I do? And banded with my brothers here, right? What could we do collectively that would pay the hobby forward and try to bring some recognition into our area, right? So it was like I saw Lefty doing his podcast and a couple others that were out there. And I don't know, one night I just hit up Toby and I was like, I got an idea for this thing, but I can't do it without you because you have all the media expertise, and I need a partner in crime that doesn't necessarily smile or talk as much as I do. So that kind of kicked.
I'm good at winging it.
Yeah, Toby's smart like that. He knows his stuff.
So it just like it became this thing. In the beginning, we had too many people on the panel because I wanted to include the track owners in our local area, which would have been like barnstormers or trains and lanes and so on and so forth, and LCRC. It just became too many panelists, and then they kind of weeded out, and it ended up being the four of us. And Vinny joined on board to do the setup segment, which was phenomenal addition to what we were doing. But we're lucky enough where once a month we get together, right? We get to shoot the shit about the thing that we love most. And, sometimes if I haven't been racing for a while and the podcast date is coming up for the record, sometimes I don't have that like chutzpah, right? I grew up with a lot of Jewish friends, so I got all the terms. But, sometimes I just don't have the chutzpah as the show's coming up, right? So, but once I get past the nervousness of the intro, like I wouldn't want to be anyplace else talking about anything else. And I hope that the people that watch our show get the same enthusiasm about racing, meeting friends, having affiliates, getting to be introduced to people like yourself that are the upper tier of the hobby. And, not everybody gets to see that or experience it. So this podcast for me has been a really good way to pay it forward. It keeps me engaged in what we're doing, and, life's busy. So thank God Vinny's always keeping track of what's going on with all the new products, and Tom too. So like we'll meet up and we find out about all these other things that are going on, just as a great recap that keeps us, kind of our fingertip on the heartbeat of what's going on. And Toby's done such a fantastic job with the layouts and improving it. And we've had some really good cast of characters that have been on here. So aside from tonight's recording, which by the way, by the time Toby gets out, your secret won't be out of what you said earlier in the night.
I know, but then by the time it gets out, it'll be good. That's no problem.
All good. But aside from this recording of this episode tonight, which is my top two favorite, right? Top three, right?
Wow.
Lefty, yourself, and we had a friend of ours depart recently, a young guy by the name of Justin Drinks. It was very unfortunate. He was a great racer in the Northeast, very well loved by so many people, such a gentleman. His life was ended way too short. But we were able to basically memorialize his memory and his existence in RC and what he gave to the community, because we had him on like in one of the first 20 episodes. And when he passed, that was one of the first things I thought about, which was we got to actually lock in a great memory of a guy that we all knew at a really great point in his life. And without the creation of this, we wouldn't have had something like special like that. And it was really great. Like Toby put out some posts after he had passed away where he re-released the video and stuff like that. And, you know, if I can step away from this with my group of brothers here at whatever point when we're done in the podcast, or when hopefully some younger guys step up because we're getting tired and nobody wants to see our gray hair talking about A-scale racing, and maybe we can, you know, hand the cup to somebody else that's younger and continue it for the Northeast. You know, having this show and having Justin and Lefty, you guys have really made it super special for me. And I know that I can speak for the other guys as well, because, you know, we're just lucky to be able to have that exposure and be able to hit you up on the phone and get you on here. And, you know, this episode number 28 is definitely a memorable one. So thank you again.
Well, thanks again for asking me to be part of it. And that's the cool side of this. You know, that's a great example of, you know, you made something in, you know, back in the day, and it became relevant. You're able to remember, you know, a good friend to many people. That makes it all worthwhile for sure. Like you said, when you're said and done, you look back and like, that was worth it for sure.
Most definitely. This is a fantastic scale hobby sport, and without it, you know, I wouldn't have most of the good friends that I get to chit chat with each week. So it's invaluable to me, and I'm sure everybody else that's listening that loves the sport.
Absolutely. I've said it to many friends. Every friend I have is in the hobby. If you go through my phone, there's a few maybe high school, you know, names from the high school reunion that I went to, but every friend I have is in the hobby. So it's it's definitely part of my life. Always has been for many years, and always will be until I say goodbye.
Well, we welcome you back at any future episode. We would definitely love to have you back at some point in the future when it accommodates your schedule. And we know you got a whole bunch of new great stuff and experiences to talk about. So hopefully you'll come back and see us soon.
Well, thank you again for the invitation. It was great chatting and talking about the hobby we all love so much with all you guys. Thank you so much.
Not a problem. We are going to take a moment, and we're going to mention our sponsors again right now, Toby, I think.
Yeah, I am. Just going to quick shout out to EB Mods, Ed Bridges. I don't know if Scotty, you've come across Ed Bridges in your travels.
Yep.
He's a second-year sponsor now. ebmods.com. Up in the Northeast, all your engine braking in, pinching needs will be taken care of. He races out in the region, trains and lanes, LCRC. So you guys looking for a quick trackside engine pinch, or you need help tuning your car, you know, you need an engine, whatever. He's your man. So ebmods.com. Check out that website. And then of course we have Dennis Brew again. I guess we've mentioned him quite a lot on this podcast, from nitrocaddy.com. Becoming quite a big name. You should check out his website as well. It's got a very popular Nitro Caddy that's been almost everybody has it now. But LCRC, big crew of guys in the region. So check that out. Super convenient little caddy. You can get all your gear in there. You can put your radio, you can put your can of beer in there, your fuel bottle, your tools, everything. So Nitro Caddy.
Awesome sauce.
All right. Well, thanks again, guys. I'm sorry I can't stay. I got a family commitment here, but
No
again, it's a pleasure to be here and chat about, you know, what we all love so much. Thanks for the honor to be able to be here. Thanks, guys.
Thanks,
Thanks,
Scotty.
Scotty. Take care.
All right.
Thank you so much.
Best
Safe
wishes.
travels.
See ya.
Good to see you. I appreciate it. All right.
Let's go racing.
That's it. On the tone.
On the tone, baby. On the tone.
All right. See you guys. Thanks.
See you, buddy.
Take care.
All right. Bye-bye.
All right, we're going to jump to Vin's setup segment now. Or Tom, do you have stuff prepared for some new products? And then we can go to Vin.
Well, you know what? There's two things quickly to touch about. I'd be curious to get your guys' take on it. But if you guys saw a Clinic, and I could share the screen, you guys I think have probably seen it. Clinic's coming out with some new A-scale wheels that are all spoked instead of being the solid dish wheels that we're all used to. Toby, let me share the screen. I'll show it anyway, in this case someone's actually watching.
JC Rulux. Love them. I almost bought like 6 sets of them.
Oh, hold on, I gotta find my link. Here it is. But pretty cool looking. Clinic has them. I think there's some other ones. I think there's some other companies used to have them. I know there's a few different things out there, but
Jake
different
Hunter.
design. I guess I'm kind of curious if you guys have ever tried them before. It seems an interesting design, right? The dirt won't get as caught up in there, but it also can get in there easier. I don't know. What's your guys' take on it?
I ran those like 10 years ago and people were laughing.
Oh yeah, no, that was the hot shit back in the day. I think
Well,
I
it's
have
like
a
most things
picture.
in life. What's old is new again, right? It's pretty much how all this stuff is.
I swear to God.
It's
I
like
have a-
RC cars. It's got a narrow pivot. It's got a wide pivot. No, it's back to a narrow pivot. Then we're going to go back to a wide pivot. You know,
Toby, you probably have a set of those old rims someplace in your
I actually
house.
have a picture of. I think I have a picture of my Mugen Truggy with them on at Motorama. I'm just trying to find it right now. Yeah, just
Vinny,
talk-
we had
talk about-
Scotty Ernst on the podcast tonight. Can you believe that?
can't find it.
Awesome.
Talk amongst yourselves while I try and find this.
well, I'm trying to. How else do we fill in time here? Well, talk about old is new again. Vin, I know you said something about there's some Associateds coming out with. It's funny when they went from the B3.2 models, they went to the D4 models. They changed the kingpin inclination.
Oh yeah,
They seem to be reverting back to a lot of that. So
yeah. Actually, I do have some new stuff from Associated to show while Toby gets that all together for us. But yeah, this is the 16 kpi Truggy front shock tower, and then these are B3 parts right here that just go along with this. So I actually have I still have the other parts I need from my old kits from the B3 back in the day. I've got my little box of parts, so I'm able to actually just get the parts I need and convert whatever car I want to 16 kpi, which is really cool. So I actually, since I'm on the topic, I'm just going to talk about, I talked about KPI last time, and I did get the chance to go out and do something. And that 16 KPI car was absolutely amazing. I did have to do a lot of tuning, but I just really liked how there wasn't so much initial steering going into the corner, and on corner exit, it was absolutely phenomenal as far as precise control, on power steering, drive out of the corner. It is the best way to describe it is it's a weapon. It's a weapon. That new car is a weapon. Yeah, it's unreal. My setup is on So Dialed. If anyone wants to try it out and convert their AE car to 16 KPI, like I said, I'm about to try these new parts that just came out for truck. So that's the new Truggy parts that just came out. They all offset, different offset fronts, the servo arm. So this works perfectly with our 8 scale stuff. The other 20 is going to be better for other models, but this is what you want. And then, they came out with steel pinions, which are really nice. They're hollowed out. I don't know if you could see through the plastic there.
Lightweight.
But they are steel, and they
Pink
work.
pinions.
They work with the new steel gears that are out as well. And these are available in 3 different sizes, 46, 47, 48. So you can finite adjustments to your gearing, which is awesome. AE does also, this is 10 scale, but I'll quickly show it. This is for your inverted shocks. So if anyone wants to invert their shocks on the B7, this just came out. And this isn't really like a new product, but something I thought I'd talk about real quick is these are like, for braking, these are like for your servos. Okay, so for nitro especially in there, and make sure you take out any kind of slop or movement so you get the max amount of torque on your brakes. I thought that would be really cool to point out real quick, but yeah,
right.
as far as stuff, go ahead, Toby.
Found it. There it is.
There it is. There.
Truggy body, Rulux wheels.
See, exactly.
I think those are those tires they used to make, Proline tires. I don't know what they are. I forget what they're called. Pretty old school. Anyway, carry on. Sorry.
I'm surprised you don't have the Proline like street tires on that thing.
Right?
Street radials.
I like seeing a full size Truggy, but I don't care what anybody says.
Tom, you have that graph? You have that graph I shared earlier?
I can have it shortly. You
All
guys
right, well,
told
we'll jump. Yeah,
21
we'll jump.
tables.
I have something to say in the
Let's-
meantime. So
Then we'll do a setup segment, and then we'll go back to the
Calibers.
graphs.
you can do that too. All right. So shout out to Brandon Rose. George, you know who Brandon Rose is, right? Everybody knows who Brandon Rose is. Right?
Yep.
And so he joined AE not too long ago. And believe it or not, he started doing videos. And I didn't even realize until I caught his video online and on YouTube. And I watched it, and I was actually amazed. And I used some of his information to change my setup and actually really made my car amazing. So I just wanted to share with you guys tonight, either as part of my setup segment, an additional setup thing. But basically, AE makes different chassis. So this is a forward weight bias chassis for the Nitro, and then there's also a rear weight bias chassis that it comes with. So this forward weight bias chassis will actually get weight over the front of the car, and it'll actually make it more stable through the bumps. And I was in awe when I heard him, and I watched the video. I had to try it for myself, and man, it's amazing. So here's my Nitro chassis. There's my Nitro car right there, and let's go. That's next week's project. I got to have it ready before LCRC. So, I'll be meeting with Ed Bridges from EB Mods pretty soon, and he's going to help dial me in. So I'm pretty excited for that. And yeah, I guess, are we doing my setup segment now?
Right now, you got full screen.
All right.
Oh, one more
You had
picture.
full screen, but now you're back. Now it's Toby's.
Okay.
Those are the Proline calibers, if you remember those tires.
Yeah,
Yeah,
of
really
course.
car.
Calibers.
Right?
Yep.
Look at that wing. Oh my god.
Back
that's
with like
goofy
3
looking.
tread patterns.
Look at that
Yeah.
on your dining room table.
I know, right?
Yeah.
I hope that's a hotel table.
No, that was in the living room. I guess it's clean and the wife was probably not looking. Anyway, carry on, nothing.
Awesome. All right. Well, all right. For tonight, our for this episode, our setup tip is going to be tire mounting. How to mount your tire. So first thing I'm going to go over real quick is all the stuff you need to get together to mount your tires. You're going to need stuff like glue. You're going to need the tip that goes with it. You're going to need your wheels, your tires, your foams, maybe a microfiber would be nice. And then, there's a couple different products that I like to use, even from Cow RC, cleaning stuff, tire bands. You're going to need some Scotch Brite if you're going to do it the way I like to do it. A little bit of Scotch Brite goes a long way. And I also have this really cool. I have more than one, so this one's still in the bag, but this is a 46 RC tire scuffer. And grab one of those. I got this one at LCRC. And some zip kicker. Where's my zip kicker? And some people like to even use a jig. So first thing I'm going to start with is the glue. Okay, so I like the J Concepts medium glue. There's also a thin glue. This is some AE thin glue that works really well, by the way. If you have to repair your tire, this is the stuff to use. But for the initial glue, I like to go with this stuff. All right, and then the tip I use, this is the J Concepts medium tips that go with it. Okay, so these just go right on there. And you can even adjust the tip depth. And you can even use the tip that comes with the medium glue right in the bottle. And if you're going to use the tip that comes with the glue, what I would suggest is, putting it on there. Okay, and you can't really do it with these so much because there's a bit of a notch, but on the other ones, they're nice and smooth, clear plastic, and they drop right on there. And you can take a piece of heat shrink tubing and just cut a little piece, put it around there, heat it up a little bit, and then that way you'll make sure that this thing doesn't come off mid glue. But these tips are, this thing is on there pretty good. I love these tips, so they work really well. So that I highly recommend the JC tip with their glue bottle. There's a lot of other good glues out there. This one's worked the best for me. But figure out what works the best for you. I think if you do the method I'm about to explain, most of those glues are going to work pretty well. So the other thing is, okay, so what you want to do next, okay, once you got your glue bottle set up and all that, you want to take, these are a set of JC double bars, some new tires that came out. And what I'll do is I'll punch some holes in these. Okay, so I'll take my hole punch right here, and I'll set it. I'll usually like to go 2.5. 3 is a little bit, big, but what I'm trying to do, if you can see here, is there's different. You can see there's different pins, right? So I want to try and get this thing. Really, just take one pin out. Some guys like to do the sidewall, and the sidewall is cool because you're not really, it's not going in the dirt as much, but dirt can still get in there. I like to do it's a personal thing, like opposing holes, one on either end on the actual tread itself. I'll take a hole out, I'll take one of these pins out and just take it out like so. And then I'll do the exact, that's it, just a little click, rip it out of there, go to the other side, do the same thing. And I usually like to make one right by, like this is a super soft tire, so that it's got a green dot on it. So I usually like to put one next to that and then one across from that, at least 2 of them in there. You can even do more. And the reason I like to do it there, I want the dirt to be able to eject if it needs to and get dirt out of there. Especially when it's on power, it's going to expand a little bit. So once you have those holes in there, you take your Scotch-Brite, okay? And I like to take the Scotch-Brite and just cut a little piece. Like I won't use the whole entire pad. I'll just cut like a square off of it.
Vinny, what grade Scotch Brite is that? Coarse, medium, fine?
This is going to be, I have no idea.
I think it goes by color typically.
Yeah. It's this one. I didn't know there was different, like extreme different grades. I mean, this one's, it seems, on the coarser side, but it's really not that bad. And this is just what I've been using. And what I'll do is I'll just take this and I'll scuff the inside of this, and I'll just, just kind of roughen up the surface that I'm going to be gluing. So the bead right here. So I'll go around, and I'll just get it like this, and I'll go around, I'll scuff the whole thing. You want to make sure you get both sides. And you could see this, the mold release coming off right on this. And you're not trying to take it down, you're not trying to take it off. We're going to do that chemically in a second, but you want to just kind of scuff it up and get it, and this way you're kind of making it so that you're definitely going to adhere to this one, especially once we chemically treat it, which I'm going to show you in a second. So that's the Scotch-Brite. And then, we'll do the same thing with the wheel. So I'll take my JC wheel right here, and I'll use the 46RC scuffer, and I'll just scuff this thing real quick. And I'll just show you guys how that goes down real quick. Just open this thing up. And this little thing is great. It's pretty cheap. It's not very expensive. I think LCRC usually has them in stock. So yeah, you just put it on here. You can see on this thing, there's these little clamps on either end. All right.
12.
It's got some
$12.50.
It's a deal. To make sure that this thing doesn't come off, and you just spin it like this a couple times. All right, hit the other side, and you can already see it's scuffed up, and it's, the materials. It's got the glue has more surface area to adhere to, both on the tire and on the wheel, so it allows for it to chemically bond even stronger. Make sure we'll clean that off too. But yeah, then we go ahead and we actually clean the tire. And let me just show you guys what I use. So this is some Cow RC stuff. We used to Heath. Shout out to Heath Meshcow. Heath and I go way back. He just had his 50th birthday, and he's been making this stuff for a long time. He's got all kinds of pit mats, which I'm using right here, and all kinds of stuff that he makes that are really good quality. And it's just what I use. There's also other products out there that I'm sure will work just fine. But at the end of the day, this is the Cow RC Moo Clean, and this is their electronics cleaner and degreaser. And this stuff, just some people want to use simple green. Once you scuff it, it's not such a big deal. But this just kind of makes sure that we break it down. So I'll spray the microfiber itself. and then I'll just go over where I scuffed my tire, and I'll make sure all that mold release comes off. And, I'm not going to do it now, but you could see it coming off right away. Okay. Especially after you scuff it, you're getting it right. So what I'll do is I'll keep going, and I'll make it so that even the sidewall is clean. The entire area that the bead, is going to adhere to the wheel has to be nice and clean. And I'll let it dry out. I'll let it dry out. I'll do the other side. And then sometimes I'll even do it one more time just to ensure that there aren't going to be any issues when Aiden or Dylan are out there on the track and they're making it happen. And by the way, the best way to do your tires is really to have somebody else do it, which is, why I like it when Dylan comes to the track and he helps us do tires, because he's like the king of doing our tires, and he's got this process down.
Somebody you trust to do your tires.
Yeah, that's it. That's following, basically, this is like our regimen. This is how we do it. So when it's done right, you have that confidence going into that race that, hey, it's not gonna come apart. There was a time where, we were always wondering, like, is it gonna come apart? So that has long not been the issue. And by the way, we were not on the J Concept team when that happened. We were on a different team. But
what day you get an LCRC event? Because I got about 12 sets I have to get mounted. I'll drop them off to you.
Yeah, right. Yeah, maybe Dylan would be down for that job. It's a good chance you could get him to help you out. So once we do that, we want to pop in the insert. So the insert, there's two different ways we do that. I like to do there's many different ways to prep your insert. And we talked about this when we had Jason Rona on the team, but you can see here, these foams have been cut and these have not. So these are a bit you can see them sticking up a little bit higher. So you want to use this. This is like having lower air pressure. This is like having full air pressure. So on high grip, smoother, stable track, more grip, you want this. Okay. You want to fill out that tire. You want it to be firm. On looser tracks that are really bumpy, certain race time events, you might want to prep your tires this way. You might even want to put some holes in there. So like I said, we talked about this when Jason Rona was on the podcast.
Vin,
Yeah.
you just cutting that with like Lexan scissors, just trimming all those things off.
Yeah. Good call.
Okay.
Yeah. So I'll just take my scissors and I'll kind of, and actually Spencer Rifkin showed me how to do it a while ago, and you just kind of cut it nice and flat.
Okay. Got it.
So yeah, which is that itself is an art, trying to get that right.
I bet.
Like a big pile on the floor by your feet. So anyway, once you get it to where you want it, obviously you put it in here, and once we do this, you want to really make sure. One of the big things about putting the insert in, to make sure that the insert gets in there right. Okay, like I'm trying to feed it in and get the sidewall over the side so that it can be even. So once I get that positioned in place, it's a lot easier. And then what I do is I like to walk it around. Okay, so by walking around, I'll just take my fingers and I'll go like this. And what it does is it kind of it stretches out the rubber a little bit and the insert, and it kind of lets it all center itself. So once you do this just for a second, it's usually pretty good. You'll see a lot of the pro guys, they'll do stuff like this too. And yeah, then then we mount the tire on the wheel. So we have our scuffed wheel here, and we want to clean this off too. You want to make sure that there's nothing on there, and don't use the dirty spot, obviously, from the other side. You want to take a fresh spot. You want to make sure you get everything you scuffed up on the wheel.
Only use that if you're doing your friend's tires for them.
And use white wheels as well, because they're faster.
Yeah, they are faster.
Hey, Jason even said that when he was on the podcast. He said he did the data.
That's right. Shout out to Jason Rona. So I like to take this little green circle right here for that signifies that it's a green compound, and I'll usually put it on the inside of the wheel. But that's like a preference thing, whatever you want to do. And I'll just kind of stretch this over here and just slowly work it down. Toby, you were going to say something?
Just same thing. Put a little green dot in the middle there in the inside. Just,
And then same thing, I'll just kind of walk this around again and make sure that the bead is right where I want it. You can almost feel it. And it's really important to just take a minute and do this to your tire. Make sure it's centered on there really, really well. This extra minute or two of prep goes a long way when you start gluing the tire. You want to make sure that bead is seated in that groove all the way around there, just right. It's not in too far and sitting on top of it. It's right in the sweet spot. You can push on it a little bit and you can feel that it's right there. All right. So once we do that, so some people like to use a jig. Some people like to put their tire down on the ground and like this. I like to hold it against me and I'll peel it open and I'll do it that way. I know my boys, they love using this jig. Where did that jig go? Here it is. So let me just show you what they use. And there's a ton of different jigs out there. So you guys have to try what works for you. But this thing has been really,
I have one of those similar. They're awesome.
Bad boy.
They're awesome.
They are, right? So like you just kind of
sandwich it.
Put your tire in here. Click this down. You have like a little
no brainer.
Yeah. So then you just take your tip, you put it on an angle, and you want to get it as far down in there as you can. But this, I mean, it really opens it up. If you can see that profile, for those of you that are listening, I know you can't, but it really opens it up just the perfect amount. So I don't even know who makes this. It says Thunder Innovation. So I think we got this from Beach RC. I don't know.
Paragon's got a new one out too. That was one of the products I was going to show at some point, but something to take a look at. It's just another option that's out there.
Yeah.
But I have the one you had, Vin. I have that style, and I actually got it from a fellow racer who left the hobby and now is back, Carmel Tassoni. So that thing's been a godsend.
Yeah, I like it. The boys are used to it. I mean, the key with gluing this, Tom, is what you want to make sure you do is don't miss any spots. You want to make sure you get glue all the way around there. Okay, and then when you do, you want to just take, for this, I like to use these blue paper towels for this and use this to kind of, you just go around here and take off the extra glue. Okay, and kind of make it look pretty too, so there's no beads. And the thing is, one of the reasons it's key to do that is that if you don't wipe off the excess glue with the blue towel, it's not going to bond the same. It's going to be thicker there. It's going to take longer to dry. When you thin it out with this, and you just take it on your finger and just wipe it, you're going to see a little bit of what looks like white smoke coming off there. Please don't inhale that. That is very toxic stuff. Stay away from that. But yeah, it is going to get a little hot when the glue chemically meets the blue paper, but just go around and make a really good bond over there. And one of the things, I'll do immediately after that is I'll use these satellite rubber bands and I'll put it around the tire, and that in itself will also squeeze out some of the excess glue, so that's when I'll get this on there, and that's when I'll just go around and I'll wipe this and make it look nice at the same time. And that's going to help it dry faster. Another thing that can help it dry faster is the zip kicker, this stuff right here. So what you want to do is you actually want to spray this into like some kind of container and put the container, you can cut a soda bottle, whatever you want to do, depending on the size of your tires. It's a lot easier to do it on 10 scale because you can use like, a Chinese food soup container or something like that. But here you do need something bigger. So people actually take Tupperware containers and they'll just spray a little bit of that into the Tupperware container and then put it right on top. Well, so it chemically reacts with the glue, and then within a couple seconds it's done, and you take it off there, and then you can go do the other side, and you're going to do basically the same thing. And then the other thing I tell you, like that I make sure that my boys do, and most of the time they do it, is to mark the inside of the tire. Okay, so I'll put the date on there, and the year, so I know how old these tires are. I'll put, front right, front left, right rear, I'll mark where they go on there. And then I'll also put the compound, like I'll put a G for green or B for blue or whatever it is, just because this little green dot is probably going to wear off after we clean the tires once or twice and put them in the tire cleaning jig. So From there, the other thing is, and especially on Chuggy, you know, and I like this little hoodie balancer, but I like to balance the tires, especially for big events. The boys don't necessarily want to take that extra step, but I will. So I'll just take a little bit of clay, model clay right here, you know, and I'll put my tire in this little jig. And there's a bunch of different balancing jigs. There's ones that you hold in your hand. This one has a stand and it works for all of them. But you just kind of put it in here, clamp it back down, and then wherever it falls, you know, when you let it go, obviously is going to be the heavy spot. So if you have the heavy spot, then you want to go to the very top, and that's where you want to stick a tiny little piece of clay into one of these grooves all the way back here. Okay. You want to kind of just stick it into the corner in a spot where it's not going to get messed up or come off. And that's how you mount your tires. Any questions, guys?
Yeah, I have that. I have that. The Paragon one here. Just got it
Nice.
a week ago. It's pretty slick.
Cool. Show it to us, please.
Yeah, and there actually is just pulled up their little a little web page here. He actually does a little video on it.
Look at that.
It's super easy to use. It's
Oh,
cheap
wow.
too. It's $40.
That
And
looks
there you
awesome.
go. Yeah, it's slick. I
you-
just did about 6 sets of tires.
All right.
And yeah, it's worth checking out.
Awesome.
I think they do a 10 scale one. I don't think he does truggy, but he's also just done a combo, and he's working on short course as well, which I think is pretty cool.
That's cool.
So yeah, you guys check out Paragon Motorsports.
Cool.
Ben, you hit on every important point in the tire assembly. Like literally, I'm watching you. I'm like, I do that. Point being, I've never seen Aiden lose a tire.
Oh, I got a picture.
Do you have a picture of Aiden losing a tire?
No, not Aiden, but God, I can't remember his name. But he had one race, and he lost like 2 sets of tires, and he became my my guy.
Oh my gosh! Wow.
Oh my God! Look at that.
And you can't see the paint scheme, so he remains anonymous. Good job.
Yeah, I know whose car it was, but yeah, he had issues, and another guy did too. I think I have his picture, but anyway,
Yeah, I think Aiden had an issue in trains where I think one of the rounds his wheel nut came off, which is different than with gluing it, because they do take a lot of pride in their glue. But man, yeah, he was pretty bummed about that, but at least he came back and won.
Well, I just reinforce anybody listening. I know I've seen videos out there. I think, matter of fact, Drake even has one using Simple Green to mount the tires. I don't recommend Simple Green. I had an issue with that. That was before, you know, and my process wasn't as good before. Now, like you, Vin, I'm religious on using Toby's tire stuff. As a matter of fact, I bought 2. I have a set. I keep one home. We set to mount tires at home, but I also keep one in my pit bag just in case I'm doing it on the thing. I don't want to forget to have it. But I really like the brake clean on the rubber part of the tire. I just think that does a better job of.
And I think this Cow RC stuff is very similar to brake clean. I think the brake clean might be a little bit stronger. And the thing is, like, you don't want to break down the rubber too much, but the brake clean is very effective. So if you're going to use the brake clean, I would say, yeah, definitely the same way. Microfiber, right? Is that what you do? Or do you spray it right on the rubber?
No, I wipe it. I put it on the towel first.
Okay. Yeah. Cool. Yeah.
Toby, what solvent do you use?
I'll just use a motor spray. That's my preference. So I actually have that stuff that Vin pointed out. I got a can off somebody, but yeah, I'll just use a motor spray that's super clean and evaporates.
Yep.
So works for me.
I use isopropyl, like 90% alcohol.
Oh, okay.
The same thing, takes that black tar off.
Yeah.
And then, because I don't have a tire scuffer, I have a jig. So I'll just take my Dremel with one of those little sanding drums around the tire. get the tire down to the naked skin because it's always got that like creamy talc
The
coating
mold
to it
is-
that's from the mold. Yep. So it's strip that, and then I'll take the Dremel right around the rim, which is basically the same thing as scuffing it, clean it exactly the same way. And I the only time I have a tire ever come off the rim is if the rubber's expired. You know what I mean? Like pulling something out of the toolbox from a couple seasons, didn't keep it in a bag. The rubber's just
actually
giving out. But
tears right at
hey,
the
man,
wheel. Yep. I've had
like
that.
Scotty was saying before, in some of those races, right? You got to finish, right? To finish first you must finish. So at the end of the day, tire prep is, I think overlooked by most of the new guys because it takes a lot of prep and energy to get it right.
Yeah, there's so much that you want to try that you're trying to get right in the beginning. That's it, it makes it tough. Even just to pick what tires are going to work was a big challenge for me. So
All right, well, I got the time clock is ticking, and we're gonna wrap up this podcast. Before we do, Toby's gonna mention quickly some of the events that are up and coming.
Oh yeah. This weekend is the Rooster Palooza. It's a 2-day vintage race actually at Insanity RC, which is up in New Jersey. Booton, yeah.
Booton.
Super cool track. It's a covered off-road track, old school, kind of what Scotty was talking about. Pin tires. Slowly picking up a good crowd. So definitely
RLC did the vintage race there. I think I was in check that out. I was in Cameron's video. RLC is Cameron Cullen, and we've had him on the show.
Yep. Some guy, some track called Rhythm or whatever it is. They moved their race out till Sunday, the 13th of April. They have their season opener. WOCRC, they also have moved their race out to Sunday. So a couple of choices, as is the Barnes season opener on Sunday. So lots of choices, lots of different places in the New York metro area. Following weekend, TNT have a trophy race. Trains has a club race. And then we get into the LCRC season. Hallelujah. April 24th. So that's the season opener, which I'm sure will be huge, sponsored by Flashpoint. And 26th of April, Cruising with RCs have their spring shootout. So lots of stuff going on in the next 2 or 3 weeks, and hopefully the weather will stop sucking.
Hey, Tob, while we can, just quick as we're chatting, we got a bigger race coming up too. ProTech and A-Main sponsored a race for us at Rhythm on May 10th, calling it the A-Main Challenge. So hope to get a bunch of guys out there for that as well.
Yep.
We get some club racing too. So you can just go to our website. We have everything listed up there, all the dates and the events that are happening. But I know I'm looking forward to LCRC. I have to admit, I just got another wedding invitation, and I swear this is the third wedding invitation. It falls on an LCRC weekend.
Oh, just tell him to move it.
I know. I want to, but I'm like, should I say I can't make it because I'm racing one to a car? So I almost feel go to them. And I was like, just go. And I'm like, I can't let you go to
No, but you should go to the reception party with your Rhythm shirt on, or like a team associated jersey.
I need that. I need a tie made, George. It has the little glow plugs for the stripes for the stars.
All right, we get me a blank tie, and I can see if my buddy Joe can stamp it on it. That would be great. All right, so Toby did the race forecast. Vin did the setup segment. Tom, you don't have that graph ready, do you?
I do have it ready, but why don't we cover it next time around? We're 2:30 in.
Not a problem. Otherwise, somebody's going to get real cranky soon. So we're going to end up wrapping up this podcast. It was number 28. We want to say thank you so much to Scotty Ernst for coming to the show. Real RC royalty. Thanks, Toby, again for reaching out to him.
Always.
Totally awesome to have him on the show. We're looking to basically record the next couple episodes. We got some fun stuff in the works. We're going to reach out to some other people and get some good cast of people coming to the show over the next few months. I'm really looking forward to trying to do a show about what makes racers anxietal or nervous or shaky on the driver's stand. So I'm going to work with my team here and try to see if we can get some driver interviews ahead of time and then try to do a show around that. I think it's going to be fun. But in the meantime,
we got to go live too. We got to do some live shows.
we're going to do some live shows. All right. Well, without that being said, please, as Vinny always tries to remind us, please like the show. Please share it when you get a chance. And you can check us out on Facebook or YouTube. If anybody's looking to sponsor the podcast, we would appreciate it. Obviously, anything in the hobby or somewhat related would be cool. So hit us up if you have any interest, like EB Mods and Nitro Caddy.
There's plenty of advertising space right on my blank wall. If anyone wants,
advertising space available.
Always and available. We're open 7 days a week for sponsors for sure. The A-Scale season has opened. Everybody's excited. So we will see you guys all at the track soon. Let's go racing.
Get out and race. Just help a new racer out too. Find someone to help them out. Go out of your way.
I'm still doing Tuesday coaching. So if anybody wants a little free coaching, trains and lanes, or wherever you want me to meet you on Tuesdays, let me know. Hit me up.
Awesome. How do they hit you up, Ben?
On Messenger, Facebook Messenger, usually.
Making sure. We got a conduit to Vin.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
No problem. Toby, anything else?
No, I'm good.
All right.
Time.
Well, we'll see you guys all in the next episode of the Northeast RC Racer Podcast, episode number 29. Let's go racing.